A young boy stands alone in a sunlit forest, catching his breath after an unseen ordeal. Tears of relief stream down his face, convinced he has just performed a righteous act. Back in the city, this schoolboy lives by a specific motto, a strange mark visible on his ear. A wooden tag on his bag reveals his personal code, one good deed a day. He silently notes a man's recklessness, narrowly avoiding a collision at a crosswalk. His gaze follows another person casually littering, tossing a cigarette into the bushes. A news report on a shop TV catches his eye, detailing a recent ATM robbery with the culprit still on the loose. A calm smile spreads across his face, certain that cosmic justice will find the perpetrator. Spotting an elderly woman in need, he seizes the chance to perform his daily good deed by offering his help. With his task complete, he finally arrives at the gates of Kamikoge Middle School. His arrival is met with a sudden, forceful blow to the stomach. The attacker celebrates the perfect hit as our boy collapses to the ground. The bullies lean in to inspect their handiwork, curious about his reaction. One of them grows frustrated, realizing their victim is somehow still grinning. Despite the tears and gasps for air, a bizarre smile remains plastered on his face. The group's attention then shifts to another student, Semitani, who is told he's up next. While squatting, Semitani methodically dismembers a butterfly, a sign of his cold nature. The protagonist watches in horror as Semitani then calmly inserts a sharp object into his own ear. With an unsettling shift, Semitani rises to his feet, his expression now vacant and intense. The bullies then hoist the protagonist up, forcing him to face this newly altered opponent. He pants heavily, his eyes wide with a strange, unfocused look. His opponent stares back, a look of utter disbelief crossing his face. A sudden, powerful impact sends the boy's body arching backward through the air. His face contorts, a silent testament to the overwhelming force of the blow. He crashes to the ground as the onlookers cheer for the brutal display. They declare Semitani the victor, noting the creepy smile has finally been wiped from his victim's face. Satisfied, the group departs, leaving him defeated on the school grounds with a promise to return tomorrow. He's left gasping for breath, a pool of drool forming on the dirt beneath him. But even through the pain, that unsettling, wide-eyed grin begins to creep back onto his face. A short while later, he cheerfully arrives at his front door, completely unfazed by the day's events. His grandmother warmly welcomes him home, completely unaware of his ordeal. He then turns with a cheerful smile to announce his arrival to his mother. He reports his daily good deeds to a photograph of his late mother, enshrined at the family altar. He recalls his mother's teaching that the heavens will punish wrongdoers. This lesson was ingrained in him from a very young age, promising rewards for his kindness. He mentally lists his good deeds, recalling the gratitude he received for helping an old woman and returning a lost wallet. Moving to the window, he affectionately greets his hungry pet dog, Padre. The dog responds with pure joy, scratching at the door to be let in. While his dog eats, he calmly reflects on Semitani's gang, confident that the heavens will deliver harsh justice. The thought of their cosmic punishment brings a delighted chuckle, which he quickly stifles out of a sense of propriety. His thoughts drift back to the entrance ceremony a month ago, where he had tried to warn them. The scene flashes to a classroom where the bullies mockingly celebrate being reunited with their target. They surround another student, cheerfully informing him he'll be their punching bag again this year. A bully lands a sharp blow to the student's gut, laughing with his friend at the pained reaction. The protagonist and his friend pause mid-sip, sensing the bully's attention turning towards them. Other students whisper amongst themselves, revealing the victim as being targeted for snitching. One classmate's attempt to report the incident is quickly shut down by his frightened friend. The onlookers decide to keep their distance, aware the bullies have dangerous older allies. The protagonist watches from afar as another bully eagerly steps forward to take his turn. Held firmly in place, the victim's face is a mess of tears and drool, his spirit clearly broken. The protagonist calmly interrupts the bullies, cheerfully suggesting they stop being mean. His sudden intervention leaves the entire classroom in a state of stunned silence. He then earnestly explains his philosophy on divine punishment and the rewards of kindness. The bullies stare back, completely baffled by his strange and unexpected lecture. Getting in his face, they question his motives, assuming he's just looking for a fight. The imposing Semitani looms over him, his blank expression adding to the tension. Semitani makes a bizarre request, which the protagonist meets with innocent confusion. He then reveals the dismembered limbs of a small creature held in his open hand. In a sudden, aggressive act, Semitani shoves the grotesque offering into the boy's face. The protagonist recoils in disgust, while the other bullies roar with laughter at the cruel prank. His eyes bulge in disbelief as the dismembered creature is forced against his lips. While the protagonist struggles to contain his revulsion, the bully's laughter echoes around him. The bully then clamps a hand over his mouth, trying to make him ingest the foul offering. He recalls another cruel prank, expressing more pity for the deceased animal than for himself. He confidently leaves their fate to the heavens, certain they'll regret their actions soon enough. His grandmother's call for dinner interrupts his thoughts, and he bids his dog farewell. A bizarre dinner is served, a stewed dish that looks exactly like a large scrubbing brush. The boy stares at the plate, a bead of sweat forming as he tries to process the strange sight. Beaming with affection, his grandmother proudly presents what she believes is his favorite meal. He calmly identifies the object as a scrubbing brush, just as his grandmother takes a bite and dismisses his concern. He desperately tries to stop her, but she accuses him of trying to starve her to death. Her confusion deepens as she tearfully mistakes him for her late husband, recalling their wedding day. His stomach rumbles, so he resolves to head out and buy some actual food. She snatches the plate away in a huff, leaving him to fend for himself. He happily discovers a half-price sale, certain it's a reward for his earlier kindness. His path leads him down a dark alley, where he encounters a mysterious torch-lit stand. The boy freezes, his expression a mixture of shock and utter disbelief. An old man with a pipe sits ominously on a wooden stall, surrounded by flickering candles and torches. He squints to read the sign, which shockingly identifies the stall as Ye Olde Hell's Gate. The boy stares, wondering about the stall, just as its mysterious owner turns to stare right back. The shopkeeper drops his pipe in astonishment, realizing the boy can actually see him. His shock turns to glee as he welcomes his first customer in ages, crediting his new location for the luck. The old man correctly deduces the boy is living a miserable life, the only prerequisite for seeing his shop. With a sly grin, he reveals a special item he has just for customers like him. The boy recognizes the object as a key, which the man confirms is far from ordinary. He then presumes the boy must have someone he desperately wishes to send to a terrible place. The key, he explains with a sinister look, opens a direct gate to the underworld for a living person. He cheerfully demonstrates a simple two-step process for using it on the intended target. Sensing the boy's disbelief, the old man questions his skepticism with a hint of disappointment. The boy can only offer a nervous smile, unsure what to make of the bizarre sales pitch. The boy politely declines the offer, explaining with a cheerful smile that he simply can't afford it. The shopkeeper counters with a grin, revealing that he doesn't need money because the item is completely free. He leans in with a sly expression, assuring the boy that he wants absolutely nothing in return. The old man presents the key, suggesting the boy just take it for now and return it later if he changes his mind. To the shopkeeper's utter shock, the boy cheerfully decides to pass on the bizarre offer. The old man is flabbergasted, questioning why he would refuse something that costs him nothing. The boy calmly explains that sending someone to hell would be an evil deed, which goes against his principles. He elaborates on his personal code, stating that while he loves good deeds, committing a bad one is out of the question. He confidently shares his mother's philosophy that the heavens will always punish those who do wrong. The old man cuts him short, revealing he knows the culprit behind his mother's murder was never caught. The boy cheerfully tries to take his leave as the old man thoughtfully considers his unwavering faith. He confidently turns his back on the bizarre encounter and walks away without a second thought. The shopkeeper erupts with a gleeful cackle, claiming his knowledge is just a bit of fortune-telling. The boy's smile vanishes, replaced by wide-eyed shock as he questions the man's source. His smile returns as he calmly reaffirms his belief that justice is simply a matter of time. He reasons that the killer's freedom only means the heavens are still deciding on a fitting punishment. He gazes skyward, filled with conviction that the most rightful retribution awaits the wrongdoer. He believes this universal law applies to everyone, especially his mother's killer, insisting no evil deed goes unpunished. His face lights up with absolute certainty, declaring this is simply how the world operates. He firmly rejects the key one last time, placing his complete trust in the heavens to punish all evil. The old man sees through his facade, claiming the boy's smile is a desperate attempt to ward off despair. The boy politely excuses himself, claiming hunger as he turns to leave the strange alley. Left alone, the shopkeeper gazes thoughtfully after the boy, a pensive look on his face. Meanwhile, Semitani recounts the protagonist's strange philosophy to his disbelieving friends. His cronies are completely baffled, unable to comprehend the boy's bizarre lecture on karma. Semitani's lip twitches, a subtle sign of his growing irritation or perhaps fascination. One of the bullies complains that tormenting insects just doesn't provide the same thrill anymore. His friend seems to ponder this, a new, unsettling idea beginning to form. The protagonist recalls being tied to a tree, grateful they only threw things at him during lunch break. He continues his walk home, his cheerful demeanor completely unshaken by the day's events. He arrives home, happily reflecting that his good deeds are always rewarded. Stepping into the yard, he notices his dog, Padre, is nowhere to be seen. He calls out his pet's name, staring at the empty doghouse with growing concern. His calls become more urgent as he scans the yard, trying to locate his missing companion. His attention is drawn to a trail leading away from the doghouse, a sense of unease creeping in. He recognizes the tattered remains of his dog's leash scattered on the ground. A look of alarm crosses his face as he peers over the fence, trying to follow the trail. His gaze falls upon dark splatters staining the path ahead. He realizes with a jolt that the splatters are a trail of blood leading into the woods. Without hesitation, he follows the grim trail, venturing into the dense woods behind his house. Peeking from behind a tree, he spots Semitani's gang gathered in a clearing. The bullies stand casually, one even scrolling through his phone, completely unbothered. His eyes widen in horror as he discovers the unmoving form of his beloved dog. The group turns, annoyed that their grim handiwork has been discovered so soon. Semitani glances back with a cold, knowing smirk, confirming he was the mastermind. The boy staggers forward, the world around him seeming to distort with his shock. He gasps for air, his mind struggling to process the devastating scene before him. The sight triggers a traumatic flashback to the day his mother was tragically lost. Overwhelmed by grief and horror, he collapses against a tree, unable to stand. For the first time, his face shows nothing but pure, unfiltered despair. The bullies taunt him, wondering where his signature smile has gone. One of the cronies asks Semitani for orders, only to be sharply silenced. Semitani, however, is lost in his own world, savoring the cruelty with a disturbing smile. His friends realize he's too engrossed in the grim spectacle to be interrupted. His mind flashes back to a happier time when his mother brought home a new puppy named Padre. The memory continues, showing his mother trying to comfort him in his grief. He recalls praying at his mother's altar, where she had wished for him and the pup to get along. His grandmother had urged him to stay strong, while the little dog offered its own silent support. In his grief, he had found a true friend and companion, hugging the small animal tightly. Padre had been his unwavering source of joy and comfort ever since that day. He collapses in anguish, gasping for air as he questions their senseless cruelty. Semitani, however, looks on with pure ecstasy, reveling in the boy's profound despair. Amidst the sobs and gasps, a quiet, unsettling chuckle begins to escape his lips. His grief seems to recede, replaced by a tense, trembling silence as he leans against the tree. The silence shatters as he erupts into a fit of wild, hysterical laughter. The bullies are taken aback, mockingly observing that their victim has finally lost his mind. He proclaims with manic glee that their divine punishment is about to begin. His imagination runs wild with visions of lightning strikes and the earth swallowing them whole. He looks to the heavens, convinced that retribution will arrive at any second. Clasping his hands in prayer, he passionately begs for their immediate judgment. He stands alone in the clearing, staring up at the empty sky, waiting for the promised judgment. His manic grin collapses into tearful confusion as he realizes no divine punishment is coming. He recalls his mother's gentle voice, promising that the heavens always punish wrongdoers. Falling to his knees, he desperately pleads for immediate retribution against such vile people. His prayer is brutally interrupted by a swift kick to the head. The bullies drag him across the dirt, having lost all patience with his bizarre behavior. Semitani leans in with a twisted smile, offering a grim suggestion. Pinned down, his world shatters as he questions how the heavens could ignore such a cruel act. A horrifying realization dawns on him. Their unchecked evil could lead to another tragedy, just like his mother's. Defeated, he stares at the silent sky, his faith completely broken by its indifference to evil. Pinned to the ground, his face a mess of tears, he questions the injustice of it all. His mind flashes to a single object lying in the dirt, the key from the mysterious shop. A sudden, desperate realization dawns on him as he remembers the old man's words. He recalls the shopkeeper's sinister offer, a key that opens a direct path to the underworld. The memory of the two-step process for using it plays out in his mind. First, the key is placed against the target's forehead. Then with a simple twist, the deed is done, and a chilling smile returns to his face. In his imagination, Sematani sits calmly before a colossal gate made of bone. The gate to the underworld creaks open as the bullies watch in stunned disbelief. A monstrous otherworldly force erupts from the gate, seizing Sematani and dragging him away. The bully's face contorts in terror as the key, now cracked, falls away. The monstrous entity from beyond the gate seizes Sematani, its grin promising a terrible fate. The vision ends, leaving the bully trembling and weeping in pure terror. With a deafening slam, the bone gate closes, leaving the remaining bullies to stare in disbelief. Clutching the key, the protagonist's tearful smile signals his victory, a sight that terrifies his remaining tormentors. The remaining bullies can only stare, their minds unable to process what they've just witnessed. Standing where his enemy once was, he wonders if he just delivered the justice that the heavens had ignored. He stands alone in the silent woods, a solitary figure contemplating the immense power he now wields. He recalls his own words, how he once believed that sending someone to hell was an unforgivable evil deed. Gazing at the key, a soft, chilling laugh escapes him, signaling a profound shift in his character. He justifies the terrifying act with a tear-streaked smile, convinced it was a good deed after all. His quiet, unsettling laughter hangs in the air, a sign of his shattered psyche. In his mind's eye, Sematani wanders through the desolate plains of the underworld. A sinister warden appears, holding up a grotesque, spiky limb as a grim welcome. The vision intensifies as tormented souls erupt from the very ground beneath his feet. The warden stands over a writhing figure, ignoring its desperate pleas for mercy. He taps his cane with authority, a silent declaration of his absolute power over the damned. The warden's hand reaches down, a gesture not of help, but of cold, clinical examination. But the vision shatters, revealing Sematani lying on the forest floor, completely stunned. He sits up, touching his chest in disbelief, shocked to find he feels no pain at all. The warden's face fills the frame, his cruel smile promising to repeat the entire ordeal from the beginning. The vision continues, showing the warden as a hulking beast, ready to strike the helpless bully with a sword. His grin widens with sadistic glee, silently warning the bully to prepare for what's next. Tears of pure terror stream down the bully's face as he silently pleads for mercy. The ground erupts, and he is dragged into a dark chasm as the impassive warden looks on. The warden informs him that his sentence has barely begun, with over 1.6 trillion years of torment remaining. But the vision was just that, and the next day, the protagonist calmly walks through the city. His one good deed a day tag clinks softly, a reminder of the code he still lives by. His attention is drawn to a news report about a recent street mugging, where a woman was left in critical condition. As the report states the suspect is still at large, a calm, knowing smile forms on his face. He reflects on all the others in the world who must be suffering from similar cruelties. A memory of his mother's smile reminds him of her core lesson: always do good deeds. He quietly affirms his mother's wisdom, a new, twisted understanding dawning on him. He resolves that if the heavens choose silence, he will become the hand that helps the needy. With a newfound sense of purpose, he accepts this darker path as his solemn duty. Vowing to perform even greater good, he immediately spots an elderly woman and offers his assistance. The key hangs from his bag, a silent promise of the new kind of justice he will deliver. The scene shifts to classroom 2-1, where a teacher takes attendance with a puzzled expression. He notes the conspicuous absence of Sematani and his gang, who haven't even called in sick. Unable to explain their disappearance, the teacher awkwardly decides to proceed with the class. The other students whisper among themselves, relieved by the gang's absence and assuming they're just skipping. The protagonist, however, sits serenely by the window, enjoying the newfound peace in the classroom. As the final bell rings, he walks home alone, observing his classmates cheerfully making plans. He notices how much happier everyone is without the bullies, connecting their disappearance to his actions. A bright smile spreads across his face as he concludes that sending them away must have been a good deed. With the key hanging around his neck, he eagerly looks forward to telling his mother about his accomplishment. He suddenly whips around, a look of surprise on his face as he senses an unnerving presence. The mysterious shopkeeper appears right behind him, wearing a wide, unsettling grin. He quickly dismisses the sight, convincing himself it was just his imagination as he turns to find the street empty. But the old man's sinister promise echoes, a reminder that the key truly opens a gate to the underworld. He brushes off the strange encounter, deciding the shopkeeper was just a peculiar old man. A sudden jolt of surprise makes him glance down at his wrist. He finds a small flame-like symbol now mysteriously branded onto his skin. He puzzles over the mark, wondering if it's just some kind of bruise. He recalls the old man's insistence that the key was free with no payment required. Staring at the odd symbol, he tries to pinpoint exactly when it appeared. The memory of the shopkeeper's unsettling grin returns, along with his claim of wanting nothing. A silent realization dawns as he begins to understand the true price of the key. His troubling thoughts are cut short as he spots a young girl struggling to peer over a wall. He cheerfully dismisses the mark, concluding he must have simply bumped his hand on something. He sees her precariously balanced on a crate, reaching for something just out of her grasp. The girl seems to be in a frantic hurry, muttering to herself as she stretches. Her foot slips, sending her tumbling backward as he watches with mild curiosity. Her bag smacks against the wall as she plummets towards the ground. But instead of hitting the pavement, she lands squarely on top of him, who has cushioned her fall. She lets out a pained groan, dazed but seemingly unharmed by the incident. Sitting up, she clutches her head, trying to shake off the dizziness. Her eyes go wide with horror as she realizes she landed on another person. She stammers out a frantic apology, but he simply tells her he's glad she's okay. Without another word, she scrambles up and disappears through a nearby door, leaving him utterly bewildered. The girl suddenly stops, calling out with a look of wide-eyed panic. She stares at the empty space, realizing the door she just ran through has vanished. Her words catch his attention, and he curiously repeats her mention of a door. He asks if she saw a door, causing her to gasp in surprise at his question. Dejected, she sits on the ground, admitting she thought she was close to her goal. She becomes flustered, quickly apologizing for her strange behavior and trying to dismiss it. With another hurried apology, she attempts to scurry away from the awkward encounter, but his face lights up with excitement as he eagerly asks for more details about the door. He reveals that he also saw a strange door recently, stopping her in her tracks. The girl turns back, her expression a mixture of shock and dawning realization. The girl nervously begins to explain, clutching her bag as she describes the door she saw. She holds up a book, explaining the door leads to the fictional kingdom of Narnia. Describing it as a land for the kind-hearted, she confirms his excited guess that it's a country of only good people. The boy repeats the name of the kingdom, his face lighting up with a cheerful, almost dreamy smile. His enthusiastic desire to visit such a wonderful place catches the girl completely off guard. Flustered by his earnest reaction, she admits her deep love for the book, having read it countless times. She questions his sincerity, and he immediately affirms his belief that it sounds like a truly wonderful place. Her expression brightens as she reveals that one day, the very door from her favorite book appeared in real life. He immediately asks if she happened to meet a peculiar old man that day, but she denies it with a confused look. She explains her dilemma, revealing the door vanishes whenever she tries to enter, and stays visible for a shorter time with each new appearance. She expresses her unwavering belief that she's on the verge of finally entering her magical world. He then asks with a knowing smile what kind of door she encountered. He cheerfully reveals that his door was a direct gate to the underworld, leaving her stunned. She nervously wonders what such a place would even look like on the other side. He confidently explains it's a place where all evil is judged, certain it must be an amazing realm. Her eyes light up as she enthusiastically agrees that a world of absolute justice sounds incredible. She thoughtfully repeats his words, pondering the concept of a place that judges all evil. A sudden realization makes her check her phone, and she nervously announces she has to leave. The two politely bow to each other, expressing gratitude for the unusual conversation. He watches with a calm smile as she hurries away down the street. He walks away, silently telling his mother that good deeds are always rewarded. He realizes it's the first pleasant conversation he's had in ages, a welcome change from his usual tormentors. The girl, meanwhile, hurries on her way, still buzzing from their strange encounter. A small laugh escapes her as she realizes someone finally listened to her strange story. Her face beams with joy as she reflects on how much fun their unexpected conversation was. Her happiness vanishes as she finds herself cornered in a bathroom, her face a mask of terror. A group of bullies confronts her, their leader demanding to know why she left without their permission. Terrified, she stammers out an excuse, explaining that the door appeared and she had to chase it. The bully leader looks down at her with a mix of disbelief and amusement, questioning her strange excuse. The other girls join the taunting, finding her explanation nonsensical and strange. The bully ties the girl's wrists, questioning her obliviousness to the situation. Another bully insults her appearance while delivering a painful blow. The bully's cruel actions escalate, capturing compromising photos. They force the girl to undress, ignoring her pleas to stop. The bully leader mocks her vulnerability, boasting about sharing the photos. She prepares to share the compromising images, reveling in her cruelty. The bully leader's sinister smile reflects her enjoyment of the situation. The scene shifts to a quiet, organized room, hinting at a change in setting. The girl from the previous scene searches her closet, seemingly undisturbed. She stares at her clothes, perhaps contemplating her next move. The scene flashes back to the girl's terrified face, surrounded by her tormentors in the bathroom. Back in the present, she stares at a calendar, disappointed that the magical door still hasn't appeared. Her lonely dinner consists of instant noodles, with a note from her mother revealing a strained home life. Tears fall into her meal as she clings to the desperate hope that tomorrow will be different. Her gaze falls upon her favorite book, reinforcing her determination to escape to its fantasy world. The next day at school, she walks nervously through the crowded halls. A bead of sweat forms on her brow as she tries to remain unnoticed. Her attempt fails as two classmates spot her and begin to whisper amongst themselves. One of the boys pulls out his phone, a cruel smirk playing on his lips. They both snicker while looking at the screen, confirming they're viewing the humiliating photos of her. The bully leader threatens to share the humiliating photos with the entire school. Overwhelmed with paranoia, she flees through the halls, imagining every student is looking at the images. She tries to compose herself in the bathroom, only to be startled by a sudden presence. Her tormentor appears in the doorway, calling her name with a chilling calm. While she nervously eats a snack, the bully continues to watch her every move. The bully leader then makes a sinister invitation for an after-school meeting. The scene shifts to a secluded building, where the next stage of her ordeal is set to unfold. The bully's older brother appears, crudely confirming he's seen the private images. Her tormentor adds to the humiliation by revealing her brother's inappropriate interest. The girl is frozen in absolute terror, realizing the situation is spiraling into a far more dangerous nightmare. The bully leader leaves her with a cruel smile, making a sinister suggestion about her brother. The girl wanders the streets, desperately muttering her need to find the magical door. She clings to the hope that if she can just reach the other side, her suffering will end. Her face is a mask of frantic determination, her thoughts consumed by escaping through the door. Suddenly, her eyes widen in utter disbelief at an impossible sight. The glowing door to her fantasy world materializes in the middle of the street. Her mind reels with shock and ecstatic joy, unable to process her luck. As she dashes towards it, a voice calls out, trying to stop her from reaching her goal. She imagines a perfect world on the other side, a land where only kind people live. Convinced this is her only chance, she sprints towards the door with all her might. The protagonist desperately calls out, pleading for her to stop and wait. Ignoring his pleas, she barrels past a group of boys, bumping one in her haste. The boys turn, annoyed that she ignored them after bumping into one of their friends. Panting heavily, her face is a mask of frantic hope as she begs the door to wait for her. She spots the door inside a demolition site and sprints towards it, ignoring the barricade. She navigates through the debris, her eyes locked on the shimmering portal. Ducking under the warning tape, she pushes herself forward, driven by pure desperation. She tearfully begs the door not to disappear, desperate to escape her miserable life. With a final push, she skids to a halt right in front of her only escape. She stares in breathless awe as the glowing door waits, her salvation finally within reach. With a triumphant sigh, she watches as the magical door slowly creaks open for her. A smile of pure relief spreads across her face as she prepares to step into her new life. She takes a confident step forward, ready to cross the threshold into the fantasy kingdom. But a sudden realization flashes in her eyes, stopping her mid-stride. She peers down into a dark chasm, realizing the door was just an illusion at the edge of a cliff. Her footing gives way, and she plummets into the abyss as the magical door vanishes completely. Tears stream down her face as she reaches out in desperation, her hope turning to terror. Just as she falls, a hand shoots out and firmly grabs her wrist, halting her descent. She looks up in shock to see the protagonist, who has caught her just in time. He grits his teeth, straining with all his might to keep her from falling. She looks up in shock, recognizing the boy from their earlier conversation. Safely on the ground, she tearfully thanks him for saving her life. The boy collapses from the strain, completely exhausted from the rescue. Catching her breath, the girl nervously asks how he knew where to find her. He explains that he simply followed her after she bumped into him on the street. He assumed her frantic rush meant she'd finally found the door to Narnio. He then admits with a smile that she gave him a scare when she stepped off the ledge. Her focus returns to the vanished portal, her hope now completely gone. Tears begin to stream down her face as the harsh reality of her situation sets in. She crumples to the ground, devastated that her one chance to escape this world is lost. He looks at her with sudden understanding, asking if she's trying to escape from reality. He observes her tear-stained face, concluding that she must have been through a terrible ordeal. The girl laments that she was so close to reaching Narnio, her voice filled with despair. Her hope shatters as she wonders if the door was just an illusion that never truly existed. Sobbing, she accepts the devastating possibility that her only escape was all in her head. She confesses that the magical door was her only hope for a better life. She reaches out in a final, desperate plea as the protagonist watches her with a thoughtful expression. He clutches the key, remembering his vow to help those in need when the heavens remain silent. A confident, almost unnerving smile spreads across his face as he tells her a door really does exist. She looks up, confused, as he reminds her of their previous conversation about his gate to hell. He calmly asks the girl if she knows that those who do evil receive divine punishment. The girl looks up, tearfully questioning the concept of punishment. Her eyes widen as she begins to understand his implication that it only applies to the wicked. He clarifies that the gate to hell only appears before those who have committed evil. Confused and tearful, she asks him why that would be the case. He then makes a startling request, asking her to take him to her bullies. His hand rests casually on the key as he questions her hesitation. With a chillingly cheerful smile, he holds up the key, claiming it's to perform a good deed. The girl reluctantly texts her tormentor to arrange a meeting at her bully's brother's place. He glances at her with a serene expression as she nervously holds her phone. With her heart pounding, she stares at her phone, a mix of fear and anticipation on her face. She nervously wonders about his true intentions, while he calmly declares he's simply there to perform a good deed. They stand before the meeting place, a stark reminder that he holds the key to the gates of hell. The door to the bully's home clicks open, and the two step inside to face their objective. The room reveals her tormentor casually smoking on a sofa next to her brother, who is busy at his desk. Her tormentor's brother swivels in his chair with a confident smirk, acknowledging their arrival. A sudden flashback reminds her of the siblings' cruel actions and the humiliation she suffered. Overcome with disgust and fear, she covers her mouth, trying to keep her composure. She turns to him with gratitude, and he calmly checks on her, his expression unwavering. The bully leader sneers, questioning their relationship, before suggesting a new, humiliating activity for them both. The protagonist bows politely, introducing himself to the two siblings in their apartment. The girl watches nervously as he prepares to get straight to the point. The unimpressed siblings listen as he explains the girl told him about their interactions. With a serene smile, he calmly suggests they should stop committing bad deeds. His directness leaves the girl completely stunned and speechless. The bully and her brother are equally bewildered by his bizarre warning. He passionately explains that all evil is punished, so they should treat her with kindness instead. His lecture concludes with a cheerful promise that kindness will be returned, making everyone happy. The brother abruptly ends the conversation by landing a heavy punch on the boy's face. The protagonist is sent flying across the room, crashing to the floor as the girl looks on in shock. The brother's fist connects with brutal force, sending the boy flying across the room. The girl watches in wide-eyed disbelief, completely stunned by the sudden violence. Before he can recover, the brother follows up with a powerful kick to his midsection. Despite the attack, the protagonist maintains a dazed, unnerving smile from the floor. The girl remains frozen, her hands clasped to her face in utter shock and helplessness. The brother pins him down, continuing the relentless assault without a hint of mercy. His sister watches with mocking amusement, casually dismissing the boy's foolishness. Overcome with horror, the girl stumbles backward, tears streaming down her face. The brother erupts in a fit of cruel laughter, reveling in his complete dominance. He then turns to the girl with a camera, making a crude and humiliating demand. The girl watches in horror, blaming herself for getting him involved in her nightmare. She begs the brother to stop, desperate to help her fallen companion. But the brother seizes her arm, preventing her from offering any aid. He forces her to look at him, a cruel smile spreading across his face. He then shoves her back, his hand closing tightly around her throat. Tears of terror stream down her face as she struggles for air. The brother revels in her fear, clearly enjoying the power he holds over her. His sister casually warns him not to go too far, while he instructs her to start recording. She smirks at her phone, planning to share the humiliating scene with everyone. As the sister mocks her, the girl silently pleads for a savior who may never come. The brother smirks triumphantly, but the protagonist, though beaten, looks up with a chillingly happy face. His smug expression falters, replaced by shock as he glances back at the girl he's holding. A sudden movement makes him whip his head around, his expression now one of pure alarm. His eyes land on the source of the disturbance, the protagonist now holding the ominous key. Before the brother can react, the protagonist presses the key firmly against his forehead. The brother can only stare in confusion, while the two girls watch, completely baffled by the strange attack. He prepares to complete the ritual, a wide, unsettling smile spreading across his bruised face. His face is a mask of manic delight as he prepares to deliver his unique brand of justice. In an instant, the colossal gate of the underworld erupts into existence right inside the apartment. The bully's sister stares in wide-eyed horror as her brother looks down at the key, which now glows with an unnatural energy. The girl collapses to the floor, tearfully questioning the impossible sight of the door. The brother stares in confusion as the protagonist calmly watches a grotesque spinal column and floating eyes materialize from the gate. His confusion turns to shock as a single armed eyeball floats menacingly toward his face. Dozens of the strange limbed eyeballs swarm him, latching onto his face and body. The creatures dig their tiny claws into his skin, their grip unyielding and absolute. A monstrous, multi-eyed warden of the underworld appears, looming over the bully as his head is consumed by the eyeballs. The brother is dragged backward into the abyss, his body contorting in agony as he's pulled through the gate. He desperately reaches out for help, his pleas for mercy lost in the chaos of his punishment. His sister's smug confidence shatters as a monstrous hand suddenly seizes her arm. The protagonist calmly observes, realizing he's preventing a future tragedy by sending them both to their judgment. He explains that he's sending them to hell to prevent a future tragedy. He watches as the siblings are dragged away, believing that if the heavens refuse to punish evil. The gate slams shut, and with a chilling smile, he declares that he will deliver the punishment himself. As the gate vanishes into thin air, he reflects that this is the only way. He tells the stunned girl that with them gone, things will be better for everyone. The girl finally understands his earlier words. The gate to hell is real and only appears for the wicked. She stares at him in awe and fear, questioning what kind of person wields the key to such a door. A sudden thought flashes through her mind as she looks at her savior. She realizes with a start that after everything they've been through, she still doesn't even know his name. Later, she lies in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to process the terrifying and miraculous events of the day. The next morning, she sits up in bed, wondering if the impossible events were all just a dream. A sharp sting on her neck serves as a painful reminder that her ordeal was terrifyingly real. At school, she tries to lose herself in a book, but is startled by an unwelcome presence. A classmate asks if she knows why the bully leader isn't answering her phone. The bully's friends corner her, demanding to know if she was with their leader the day before. She begins to stammer a denial, but her fear is replaced by a strange, quiet confidence. A subtle, knowing smile plays on her lips, signaling a dramatic shift in her demeanor. The remaining bully notices the smile, angrily grabbing her hair and demanding an explanation. Looking up with wide, fearless eyes, she delivers a chilling warning about what happens to those who do evil. Her tormentor can only stare back, completely bewildered by the unexpected threat. She stares intently, asking if the bully is truly prepared for the outcome of her actions. With a serene smile, she advises them to be kind, as only good deeds prevent a trip to the underworld. Their confrontation is interrupted by a teacher who seems confused by the girl's bizarre lecture. The teacher reveals that the bully leader never returned home, and her parents are now involved. The girl erupts into a fit of joyous laughter, a reaction that deeply unsettles her former tormentors. Calling her a creep, the remaining bullies retreat, leaving her to quietly celebrate a world with no more bad deeds. Meanwhile, the protagonist walks with a newfound resolve, vowing to personally deliver all evildoers to their judgment. Back at school, the sign for classroom 2-1 is shown as gossip begins to spread through the halls. Students whisper about a fearsome new transfer student, comparing him to the infamous Semitani. The protagonist overhears their chatter, unaware that the students are already making plans to stay away from him. As the school day ends, students begin their after-school cleaning duties. The protagonist walks happily through the hall, having found the book about the kind-hearted kingdom in the library. He examines the cover of the Chronicles of Narnia, the same story the girl he helped cherished. Reading a passage, he wishes the real world could be as peaceful as the one in the book. He spots the girl with her own copy and silently hopes her days of being bullied are truly over. With his bag in hand, he begins his walk home, leaving the school behind. His route takes him past a secluded, empty area behind one of the school buildings. He stops short, noticing a pair of legs sticking out from behind a large pipe on the ground. His expression shifts as he realizes he's stumbled upon yet another scene of injustice. A new bully scoffs at the meager amount of money his terrified victim has handed over. The memory flashes back to him lying on the ground, covering his face in humiliation. He recalls the bullies turning to him, demanding he join their cruel games. Frozen in terror, he knelt beside another victim, unable to act. His own desperate pleas and threats were met with the bully leader's cold indifference. The leader, Kino, was then called away by his friends for a game of soccer. With a smug grin, Kino agreed and walked away, leaving his lackey to continue the torment. The remaining bully decided they didn't need a ball, grabbing the protagonist's hair instead. He was slammed face first into the unforgiving ground. As one bully ran off laughing, Kino glanced back, annoyed by the ongoing commotion. A foot suddenly stomps down, stopping the attack as he pleads for it to end. Peeking from behind a wall, the protagonist cheerfully advises the bully to stop his misdeeds. The new arrival, Kino, turns in confusion, surprised by the boy's sudden lecture. The bully on the ground looks up, baffled by this strange turn of events. Kino sizes up the protagonist, questioning who this strange newcomer is. The bully demands to know who both of these interlopers are. The protagonist simply offers a friendly, almost sheepish smile in response. The bully scoffs, mockingly asking if they're here to offer up their own money. Kino shoots the bully a look of pure contempt, completely unimpressed by his attitude. He calls out the third years for their pathetic behavior, correctly guessing the protagonist's grade. The bullies wonder aloud why Semitani isn't controlling the second years, catching the protagonist's attention. Kino reveals he's a new transfer student, completely unfazed by the third year's threats. The protagonist steps in, cheerfully explaining that threatening others for money is not a kind act. He politely asks the bullies to return the stolen money, much to the other victims' surprise. Leaning in with a smile, he begins his lecture, warning that those who commit evil deeds will be punished, but Kino cuts him off with a swift, powerful blow that sends both boys flying. Annoyed, Kino prepares to strike again, warning both of them that they've angered him. As the punch flies, the other boy raises his hand and intercepts the attack with surprising speed. He firmly grips Kino's fist, stopping the assault cold and leaving the bully stunned. The two lock eyes in a tense standoff, Kino's shock turning to rage at this unexpected resistance. Their confrontation is suddenly interrupted as a rock strikes the boy in the head, thrown by the other bully. The spiky-haired boy winces in pain, momentarily stunned by the cheap shot to his head. Kino coldly suggests they use the boy's head as a new ball for their game. The other bully mockingly agrees, sarcastically noting that the ball has been dropped. Blood drips down the spiky-haired boy's face as he glares with fury, while the other bully grins with sadistic glee. The protagonist flinches as the bully grabs the spiky-haired boy's hair, preparing for another attack. From the ground, he calmly asks the bully if he's aware that all evil deeds eventually receive punishment. He then offers a cheerful, almost manic smile, explaining that's precisely why they should do good deeds instead. His eyes widen with an unsettling intensity as he asks if his point is getting across. The bullies can only stare back, completely bewildered by his strange and unfitting lecture. Kino watches the scene unfold, his expression shifting to one of intrigued curiosity. Kino's phone suddenly buzzes, interrupting the tense standoff. A new student appears, calmly relaying an order from someone named Kanemasan. He tells Kino to stop what he's doing and leave, much to the other bullies' surprise. The group of bullies turns and walks away, leaving the protagonist and the other boy behind. Kino glances back, telling his friends they'll have to postpone their game for now. He snaps a quick photo of the spiky-haired boy, making a silent promise that he won't forget his face. The spiky-haired boy simply stares back, his expression unreadable. The protagonist checks on the other boy, who crouches in pain but says he should be more worried about himself. The boy remarks that the protagonist has guts for a wimp, then asks if he's also a second year. The protagonist cheerfully introduces himself as Asura Amashiro and offers the other boy a bandage. The spiky-haired boy introduces himself as Raika Tatsumiya, asking for the protagonist's name. Asura is momentarily stunned by the introduction, staring at Raika's outstretched hand. He points out that Raika is bleeding from the head, still holding out the bandage. Raika waves off the concern, bluntly stating that he's fine. He glances at his own scraped knuckles, cryptically remarking that this is nothing compared to a real fight. Asura falls silent, observing his new stoic acquaintance with curiosity. The scene shifts to a rundown apartment complex, revealing where Raika lives. Raika wearily enters his apartment, announcing his return to the seemingly empty space. He stops short, hearing the sound of hammering coming from inside his own home. A younger boy with a bandaged eye turns from the wall he was boarding up and cheerfully welcomes Raika back. The younger boy is overcome with terror, pleading for it to stop as he's certain their pursuer has found them. The boy notices Raika's injuries, his own fear escalating as he asks if their tormentor is here. Raika tries to calm the frantic boy, whom he addresses as Mom, as he continues to hammer boards onto the wall. The boy frantically hammers at the wall, desperate to seal it off before their pursuer can get inside. He presses against the boarded-up wall, resolved to seal it completely before they are found. Raika watches with quiet resolve, promising to protect them both, but his words fail to calm the frantic boy. The scene shifts to Asura at the dinner table, where an older woman asks why he looks so upset. The woman gently points to her own brow, prompting him to remember his mother's words. A flashback shows his mother telling a younger, bruised Asura that his furrowed brow makes him look just like his father. His mother's voice echoes from the past, promising him that the heavens will punish those who hurt him. A flashback reveals his mother lovingly tending to his childhood wounds, remarking on his resemblance to his father. Back in the present, Asura questions his own anger, slowly coming to a realization about his feelings. Elsewhere, Kino and his gang wander the school grounds, their expressions sour and annoyed. Asura clutches his key, a determined smile forming as he decides what must be done. The scene shifts to the bullies examining the disappointing results of their previous day's work. One of the bullies presents his meager findings to Kino, who looks on with utter disdain. They complain about their poor haul, callously dismissing the items they took from an elderly woman. Kino's frustration boils over as he blames their bad luck on the interference from Asura and Raika. Enraged, he takes out his frustration on a helpless victim, furious over the small amount of money. Kino turns to his crew, suggesting they track down the two boys and get their revenge. Kino suggests they pass the time by going after their little piggy banks for more money. He lays out his plan, starting with finding their targets' homes to use as leverage. With a sinister grin, he adds that they need to come up with a cruel game to play with them. He orders his crew to dig up any personal information they can find, even targeting their families. As the school day ends, students begin to leave unaware of the bullies' sinister plans. In the locker room, Asura and Raika lock eyes, acknowledging their shared experience. Asura checks on Raika, who quickly points out that Asura should be more worried about himself. Raika questions why Asura isn't leaving, sensing he has something else on his mind. Asura purposefully walks past, leaving Raika to wonder what he's up to. With a determined expression, Asura reveals his plan to confront the bullies from the previous day. Asura cheerfully explains he's going to check if the bullies followed his instructions to return the stolen money. Raika is left completely speechless by Asura's bafflingly optimistic plan. He tries to stop Asura, questioning the logic behind confronting them again. Raika can't comprehend Asura's naivety, asking why he thinks the bullies would ever do what he said. He points out that lecturing them is a waste of time and will only result in another beating. Raika stares, completely bewildered by Asura's unwavering and illogical determination. Asura calmly replies that if they're still committing evil acts, it's the perfect reason to pay them a visit. Completely baffled, Raika can only conclude that Asura is a total weirdo. Despite this, Raika decides to tag along, claiming he'd feel guilty if Asura got hurt. Raika quickly clarifies he's not doing it for Asura's sake, but for his own reasons, leaving Asura puzzled. As they walk, a commotion up ahead catches Raika's attention. He realizes a crowd has gathered, wondering what could be causing the disturbance. The source of the chaos is the young boy from his apartment, frantically trying to get past a worker. Wielding a hammer and barefoot, the boy ignores the worker's pleas to calm down. Raika stares in disbelief, recognizing the frantic boy as his own family member. Asura turns to Rika, innocently asking if the distressed person is his mother. The boy panics, screaming that a mysterious man has returned to find them. He recalls hearing a knock at their door, certain he recognized the sound of their pursuer. He explains that the man even faked his voice, pretending to be a delivery person. His panic intensifies as he reveals he came to warn Rika to escape immediately. The boy's face is a mask of pure terror, his only thought to warn Rika not to come home. A worker asks nearby students for Rika, just as he and Asura approach in the background. Overcome with exhaustion, the boy staggers forward, struggling to get his warning out. He finally collapses to the ground, the hammer falling from his grasp as his strength gives out. Onlookers gather as the boy begins to hyperventilate, his panic reaching a critical point. The concerned worker kneels beside him, trying to help him slow his breathing and calm down. Rika finally reaches the scene, demanding to know why his mom is there. The boy's eyes widen in a mix of relief and terror as he finally locks eyes with Rika. A chilling flashback reveals the faceless, menacing figure that haunts the boy's nightmares. The memory shifts, showing the same threatening figure in casual clothes, reinforcing his persistent danger. The boy collapses to the ground, shielding his head as he pleads for the perceived attack to stop. His eyes widen in sheer terror, his mind twisting Rika's arrival into the return of his tormentor. Prostrating himself, he begs for Rika to be spared, his fear entirely for his brother's safety. Asura, ever helpful, obliviously points out that the person they're looking for has arrived. Rika tries to get his siblings' attention, but the boy flinches away, trapped in a waking nightmare. Rika's fist clenches, a silent testament to his boiling frustration and helplessness. Two teachers rush to the scene, confirming they are aware of Rika's difficult family situation. A teacher kneels beside the panicked boy, trying to understand what triggered his extreme distress. She gently attempts to soothe him, encouraging him to take deep breaths and calm down. Rika turns away, stoically suggesting his sibling simply mistook him for someone else. Asura looks on in confusion as Rika stoically dismisses his sibling's terror. Unseen by the group, Kino and his gang observe the unfolding drama from the crowd. One of the bullies callously snaps a photo of the vulnerable scene on their phone. The bully zooms in on the picture, satisfied with the humiliating image he's captured. Kino peers at the photo, cruelly identifying the distressed boy as Rika's mom. A sinister smile spreads across his face as he formulates a wicked new plan. Later, Rika's sibling rests in the infirmary, still reeling from the traumatic episode. The school nurse informs Rika that while his sibling is stable, she wants to discuss their condition. Rika decides to wait outside in the hall, a choice that puzzles the nurse. He explains that his presence would only make things worse, deciding it's best to stay away. The nurse closes the infirmary door, promising to update Rika on his sibling's condition. Asura joins Rika in the hallway, both boys now waiting outside the closed door. Asura nervously asks about his sibling, and Rika reassures him that the worst has passed for now. But Asura's concern shifts, now questioning if Rika himself is truly okay. The question catches Rika completely off guard, his tough exterior momentarily cracking. He scratches his head, wryly commenting that he must look pathetic to warrant such concern. Rika dismisses the worry, claiming this kind of turmoil is just a regular part of his life. His expression shifts, a sudden realization dawning on him as he processes the situation. He then cancels their plan to confront the bullies, deciding he needs to stay for his family. Asura smiles warmly, insisting that Rika's priority should be staying by his sibling's side. Rika postpones their plan, telling Asura they can deal with the bullies tomorrow. Asura smiles warmly, agreeing to the delay without question. Bidding him farewell, Asura heads down the empty school corridor. Meanwhile, Kino shares the humiliating photo of Rika's sibling in a group chat, announcing a new idea. He lets out a sinister laugh, clearly pleased with his cruel intentions. Later, Kino waits outside as one of his lackeys approaches to report. The lackey confirms he knows where to find their target and suggests they follow them home. Kino excitedly announces his brilliant idea, ready to share the details of his twisted game. He lays out his vile plan to ambush Rika's sibling, steal their belongings, and cause them harm. His accomplice, however, seems unimpressed, questioning how this is any different from their usual cruelty. Tino's face twists with rage, infuriated by his lackey's lack of enthusiasm. He glares at his subordinate, questioning if his leadership is being compared to someone else's. The lackey points out that Kino's plan is just a repeat of their old boss's usual tactics. His anger boiling over, Kino grabs his subordinate's hair, disappointed by the unoriginality. He tightens his grip, having expected a more creative approach to their cruelty. With a sadistic grin, he suggests a new game, offering to use his lackey's head as the ball. The terrified subordinate immediately changes his tune, praising Kino's genius for targeting Rika's family. The lackey then suggests posting a lookout at the infirmary, and Kino orders him to go. As his subordinate runs off, Kino tells him to report back the moment Rika and his sibling leave. A sinister smile returns to Kino's face as he agrees that his plan is, in fact, brilliant. Kino smirks at his phone, dismissing his subordinate, who turns to leave. He leans back with a manic grin, anticipating the chaos his plan will cause. As Kino sits absorbed in his phone, he's unaware of Asura approaching him from behind. Asura greets him with a wide, innocent smile, stating that he's finally found him. The bully's expression shifts to annoyance as he recognizes the boy who interfered yesterday. Asura calmly asks if he did the right thing and returned the money he stole. The bullies scoff at his question, mockingly asking if he's there to offer up his own money. Asura serenely explains he's just there to confirm, which only fuels Kino's irritation. Losing his patience, Kino delivers a sudden, forceful punch to Asura's head. As Asura lies on the pavement, Kino callously asks what he's going to do about it now. Asura skids across the pavement, the force of the blow sending him to the ground. From the floor, he weakly pleads for them to stop, still warning that evil will be punished. He insists that this is precisely why they should perform good deeds instead. With a trembling voice, he promises that kindness will be returned, making everyone happy. His bizarre lecture only enrages Kino further, who begins a relentless assault. The bully leader loses all control, furiously continuing the attack on the unresisting boy. But even while being beaten, Asura calmly reaches for the key in his pocket. A new voice cuts through the chaos as Rika arrives, demanding to know what's going on. Kino turns his head, his rage now directed at the unexpected arrival. Rika stands his ground, staring down the bully who towers over Asura's fallen form. Rika questions Asura's reckless decision, admitting he came looking because he was worried. He then orders Kino to stop, but the bully's rage only intensifies at the command. Kino throws a wild punch, but Rika catches his fist, stopping the attack cold. Rika's powerful grip surprises Kino, whose annoyance quickly turns to fury. Asura suddenly gets to his feet and steps directly between the two tense fighters. Rika tries to warn him to get back, but a close-up on Asura's eye reveals his unwavering resolve. Both boys are completely baffled by Asura's bizarre and unexpected interference. In a shocking move, Asura calmly pokes the towering bully directly in the eye. Rika can only stare in wide-eyed disbelief at the absurd turn of events. Kino reels back, clutching his face in a mixture of pain and utter confusion. With a click, Asura's bruised face breaks into a serene, knowing smile. The colossal gate of the underworld erupts into existence, trapping the three of them. A monstrous spinal column with a fanged maw lunges from the gate, leaving Kino speechless. A grotesque, muscular beast with a unicorn's head emerges, its eyes fixed on the terrified bully. The creature's massive jaws clamp down on Kino's head, sealing his fate. Kino is dragged helplessly into the abyss as Rika watches, frozen in disbelief. The gate slams shut with a deafening finality, taking the bully with it. As the smoke clears, Asura stands calmly beside a completely stunned Rika. Rika stares at the empty space, trying to process the impossible sight he just witnessed. He turns to Asura, demanding an explanation for the talk of hell and the disappearing bully. Asura calmly explains he sent the bully to his judgment to prevent a future tragedy. As he turns to leave, Rika calls out, completely jolted by the impossible event. Rika's mind races, trying to comprehend the horrifying spectacle he just witnessed. He stares at Asura, absolutely certain that what he saw was terrifyingly real. Asura holds up the ominous key, and Rika realizes he's seen a secret he was never meant to know. The two stand in a tense silence, the air thick with unspoken questions and fear. Rika struggles to find words, his gaze fixed on the mysterious key in Asura's hand. The terrifying memories flash through his mind, and he comes to a horrifying conclusion. He's next. His fear turns to resolve as he clenches his fist, believing it's a kill-or-be-killed situation. But instead of a confrontation, the two boys simply walk past each other, parting ways in tense silence. Asura cheerfully says goodbye, leaving a stunned Rika to process the impossible event. Rika stands alone in the alley, watching the strange boy walk away as if nothing happened. His eyes lock onto the key hanging from Asura's bag, a chilling detail he hadn't noticed before. A wave of cold dread washes over him, the reality of the situation finally sinking in. The sheer shock and terror of the moment leave him breathless and doubled over. The horrifying image of the otherworldly beast is burned into his mind, questioning his own sanity. He collapses to the ground, trying to accept that a monster really did drag the bully away. He recalls Asura's chillingly calm explanation for where the bully had gone. Rika struggles to understand how Asura could speak of such horrors with absolute certainty. The memory of the creature's final brutal act confirms his worst fears. It was all real. Rika clutches his head, forced to accept that the impossible horror was real. His thoughts are cut short as a school announcement summons him to the infirmary. He finds the school nurse waiting for him outside the infirmary door. His younger sibling looks up, startled by his sudden arrival. The nurse informs him his sibling has recovered, but her worried expression hints at a deeper problem. Peeking from the infirmary door, his sibling's face is a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. His eyes wide with panic, he desperately asks if their tormentor has found them. Rika addresses his sibling with a weary expression, his own exhaustion showing. He tries to reason with him, explaining they've moved and changed phones to ensure their safety. The boy's panic escalates, insisting their tormentor was just at their door, disguised as a delivery person. Rika promises his sibling that he will deal with their pursuer no matter what. His sibling's terror remains, convinced the man is already lying in wait for them at home. He stares at his brother, his eyes wide with a deep-seated and overwhelming fear. His sibling questions if Rika truly stands a chance against such a dangerous individual. A painful memory surfaces of his sibling begging for mercy on the floor of their home. The memory reveals a younger Rika being overpowered by their faceless tormentor. Tears of helplessness stream down his younger self's face, trapped in the man's grip. In the present, Rika's hand clenches into a tight fist, his knuckles white with rage. The trembling in his hand betrays the deep-seated fear he tries so hard to conceal. His expression hardens, a silent vow forming behind his weary, determined eyes. Rika makes a solemn vow to confront and deal with their tormentor once and for all. The scene shifts to their rundown apartment building, where they have just arrived home. With a tense hand, he cautiously inserts the key into the lock, preparing to face what's inside. His terrified sibling clings to him, begging him to be careful as he calmly agrees. Rika declares the apartment empty, but his sibling insists their pursuer must be hiding deeper inside. They peer into the messy, box-filled hallway, finding no immediate sign of an intruder. Rika tells his sibling to wait by the door while he investigates, despite their panicked protests. Suddenly, a menacing figure with sunglasses looms in the doorway, blocking their only exit. The two brothers share a look of pure shock, realizing their worst fears have come true. The apartment door slams shut, trapping them inside with the unwelcome visitor. The man casually asks why they're late, his presence filling the brothers with dread. The younger brother, Karen, is frozen in pure terror, unable to speak. Rika stares in disbelief, demanding to know why their tormentor has found them. The man explains he had to track them down after they suddenly vanished. He sighs with mock disappointment, claiming their disappearance broke his heart. Crushing a can in his hand, he scolds them for abandoning their old man. He addresses them by name, Rika and Karen, waiting for their response. His cold, demanding gaze insists they break their terrified silence. Karen trembles uncontrollably, his fear completely overwhelming him. Overcome by terror, Karen collapses to the floor and begs for forgiveness. The man stares down at them, his expression unreadable behind his dark sunglasses. He coldly dismisses Karen's desperate pleas for forgiveness. He grabs the terrified boy, claiming their past troubles are forgotten now that they're reunited. In a twisted gesture of reconciliation, he offers them a cake he bought for the family. Rika can only watch in stunned silence, a cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. Trembling uncontrollably, Karen accepts the box, stammering his gratitude. But his shaking hands lose their grip, and the box begins to slip from his grasp. The cake falls to the floor with a heavy thud, the small accident shattering the tense quiet. The man's demeanor instantly changes, his voice laced with a cold understanding. Karen's face contorts in terror, realizing the grave mistake he has just made. With his foot crushing the ruined cake, the man decides it's time to teach the boys a lesson. He coldly accuses Karen of not appreciating his gift, ignoring the boy's terrified denials. His fist clenches, his patience wearing thin with what he perceives as their arrogant attitude. He leans in with a sinister promise to stay by their side and personally fix their behavior. Rika steps forward, shielding his trembling brother from their father's menacing presence. The man's gaze turns icy as he gives Rika a single chilling order to get out of his way. Despite the sweat on his brow, Rika stands his ground, telling his father to stop. The man lets out a frustrated sigh, completely unimpressed by Rika's sudden defiance. He lectures Rika on obedience, concluding that his rebellious son needs a lesson as well. His fist tightens as he cruelly claims this harsh discipline is for Rika's own good. A flashback reveals the father's clenched fist as he lectures Rika on the path to becoming a man who supposedly cares for his family, a twisted promise made over his son's fallen form. He continues his warped lesson, claiming obedience will make Rika a strong and righteous man. The father chillingly suggests his son will become just like him, a terrifying prospect. His face fills the frame as he offers a disturbing form of encouragement for them to work together. The man promises to personally teach Rika everything he needs to know, his gaze cold and unwavering. Back in the present, Rika's mind reels, realizing the seemingly impossible task of escaping his father's grasp. The next day at school, Rika watches Asura, his thoughts fixated on the key that can summon hell itself. Peeking from the classroom door, he admits to himself he needs a closer look at the mysterious object. He observes Asura meticulously polishing the key, baffled by the strange reverence he shows it. Rika studies the class schedule, his mind racing as he forms a plan. He meticulously checks the timetable for Class 2-1, searching for the perfect moment. His attention is suddenly caught by two unfamiliar adults walking down the school corridor. A bead of sweat forms on his brow as he watches them, sensing something is wrong. The mysterious pair stops a teacher, asking to speak with the person in charge of Class 2-1. They reveal their identities, flashing police badges and stunning the teacher. The officers announce they're investigating a missing person case, confirming Rika's fears. The camera pans to the sign for Class 2-1, the target of their investigation. Rika's silhouette is visible through the classroom window as the authorities draw near. The classroom door slides open with a rattle, revealing a room that is completely empty. The teacher finds the classroom empty, save for a neatly folded uniform on a desk. Unseen by the adults, Rika carefully lifts the ominous key from Asura's bag. With the key secured, his hand retreats from the desk, his mission accomplished. Rika stares at the object, his mind racing with the terrifying power it holds. He imagines his father sleeping, realizing the key could make his tormentor vanish without a trace. A vision of his younger sibling's hopeful face strengthens his resolve to find them peace. His expression shifts, a grim smile forming as he commits to his dark plan. But a wave of doubt washes over him, questioning if he can truly wield such a dangerous power. The chilling realization dawns on him that this act would make him no better than his enemies. Despite his fear, he tightens his grip on the key, believing he has no other choice. His mind screams at him, questioning his hesitation and insisting this is for his siblings' sake. His face contorts with doubt, terrified by the dark path he is considering. He clutches the key, believing it's the only way to end his family's torment for good. His feet freeze to the floor, his body refusing to move forward with the grim plan. A powerful jolt runs through him, a physical shock born from his intense inner conflict. He tries to force himself to leave the classroom, telling himself it's time to act. But he remains still, a single bead of sweat betraying his overwhelming anxiety. A memory of Asura surfaces, showing him lovingly polishing the very same key. He's struck by the realization that he's about to steal something so precious to someone else. His conscience takes over, and he turns back to the desk, deciding he cannot go through with the theft. His hand freezes over the desk, his mind screaming that this is the only way to be free. He clutches the key, completely lost and unsure of the right path to take. Sweat drips down his face as he silently begs for someone to give him an answer. He stares out the window, feeling utterly alone with his impossible choice. A moment of bitter self-awareness hits him, and his eyes widen in shock. The camera pans across the sky, marking a quiet moment of clarity. His expression hardens as he realizes the decision is his and his alone. He questions who he was even asking for guidance in the first place. He reminds himself of the promise he made, determined to find another way to solve his problem. The classroom door slides open, revealing Asura, who has returned for his missing key. Asura looks on in confusion, surprised to find Rika in the empty classroom. Rika flinches, caught completely off guard by Asura's sudden appearance. Asura explains he came back for something he forgot, assuming Rika would be in PE class. His eyes narrow as he recognizes the object in Rika's hand, calmly identifying it as his key. Rika freezes, clutching the key as the reality of being caught red-handed sinks in. Asura's expression shifts to a serene smile as he innocently asks what Rika is doing. Flustered, Rika stammers that he was just about to apologize for his earlier behavior, but Asura's unsettlingly calm gaze suggests he knows Rika's true intentions. Rika averts his eyes, unable to come up with a convincing lie under Asura's intense scrutiny. He flinches back, a wave of fear washing over him as he's cornered by the strange boy. Asura's gaze turns cold and empty as he directly accuses Rika of trying to steal his key. Rika's blood runs cold, convinced that Asura's intense look means he's about to be attacked. He desperately tries to calm himself, believing Asura is powerless without the key he's holding. Asura calmly lectures him about the evils of stealing, while Rika weakly claims he was only borrowing it. A horrifying new possibility dawns on Rika, wondering if Asura possesses more than one key. He imagines Asura repeating his signature move, realizing he could be the next target. The terrifying vision of being dragged to hell flashes through his mind, just like the bully before him. He tries to regain his courage, reminding himself that he's physically stronger than Asura. But his bravado evaporates, leaving him panicked and unsure of how to escape his predicament. His spiraling thoughts are suddenly cut short as someone calls out his name. His father's twisted lessons on manhood push Rika to a dark, kill or be killed conclusion. A sudden impact against the ceiling shatters the tense silence in the classroom. The chilling proverb flashes through his mind, suggesting he is destined to become like his father. The force of an unseen blow sends him flying backwards. The memory continues, showing a younger Rika crashing to the ground in pain. In the memory, he bravely confronts a group of bullies, chastising them for their cowardice. He confidently strides toward the bullies, determined to protect their target. He successfully retrieves the stolen item and returns it to the relieved victim. As the boy expresses his gratitude, Rika claims he acted for his own reasons, not for praise. The memory fades, replaced by the image of a first aid kit on a table. A memory surfaces of his mother tending to his childhood wounds, remarking on his tendency to fight, just like his father. She fusses over his bruised face as he explains he was protecting someone from bullies. The young Rika gives her a hard stare, prompting a quick apology for the comparison. He vehemently denies any resemblance to his father, listing their physical differences. His mother smiles warmly, telling him that unlike his father, he has a kind heart. Her loving words leave the young boy speechless, staring at his own scraped hand. Despite his flustered denials of being nice, his mother insists on treating his injuries. His thoughts turn grim, wishing he could bleed out every last drop of his father's blood. He makes a silent, powerful vow to never become like him or prey on the weak. His mother gently hushes him, asking him not to speak such terrible thoughts aloud. The memory concludes with his resolute vow never to become like his father. Back in the present, drops of blood splatter onto the classroom floor. Rika stands over a stunned Asura, clutching his own bleeding nose. He had just delivered a powerful, self-inflicted blow to his own face. Asura looks up from the floor, completely bewildered by Rika's bizarre behavior. The shock of the pain seems to snap Rika out of his dark, spiraling thoughts. He lets out a sigh of relief, feeling as though he can finally think clearly again. Asura gets to his feet, his concern now focused on Rika's injury, not the stolen key. Asura's genuine worry catches Rika completely off guard, shattering his expectations. Wiping away the blood, Rika reassures the other boy that he is okay. Rika stares at his bloody hand, dismissing the pain as nothing compared to his family's curse. Asura looks on, his innocent expression filled with pure, unadulterated confusion. Rika abruptly turns to leave, casually telling Asura he's heading off to class. Asura calls out his name one last time as Rika exits the classroom without looking back. A close-up on Rika's hand reveals a subtle tremor, a sign of his unresolved inner turmoil. Asura is left completely baffled by Rika's sudden and extreme actions. He watches Rika disappear down the hall, accepting the bizarre end to their confrontation. Standing alone in the empty room, Asura gives a small wave to the now empty doorway. The scene shifts to the bustling school hallway as students part ways for their next class. The school bell rings, signaling a return to routine after the chaotic and private ordeal. The scene shifts to a local electronics store, setting the stage for Rika's new plan. After school, he makes a quick stop, a rustle indicating he's pocketing a new purchase. He leaves the store, having acquired some unknown components for his next move. The familiar dreary sight of his apartment building looms as he heads home. With a nervous sweat, he steels himself for the inevitable confrontation waiting inside. Rika stands frozen on the walkway, gathering the courage to face his father. The apartment door swings open, revealing his father ominously waiting for his return. The door clicks shut behind him, sealing him inside with his tormentor. Rika is taken aback by his father's calm yet unsettling greeting. His father points, ordering him to a specific spot as if preparing for a formal punishment. Rika's eyes widen in sudden, horrified realization. He sees his sibling, Karen, lying unconscious on the floor amidst the moving boxes. A flashback reveals a younger Rika calling out for his sibling, whom he refers to as Mom. The memory shows Karen collapsed, a victim of their father's rage. His father explains that Karen was punished for trying to leave the apartment. The man then turns his cold attention to Rika, declaring it's his turn for discipline. From the floor, Karen weakly pleads for the ordeal to end. Even in his terror, Karen begs for his brother to be spared, trying to protect him. Unmoved, the father repeats his command, ordering Rika to stand before him. Rika stands defiantly, subtly reaching for the components he bought earlier. With a subtle click, Rika activates the hidden voice recorder, his plan now in motion. He resolves to end this nightmare on his own terms, without relying on dark powers. He believes the recording will be enough evidence for the police, a desperate gamble with his last funds. He silently vows to protect his sibling, promising this torment will finally come to an end. As Karen lies unconscious, their father watches Rika with a cold, unfeeling expression. Without warning, the man strikes a heavy blow, sending Rika staggering backward from the force. Rika gasps in pain, the sheer impact knocking the wind out of him. His father grabs him by the hair, mockingly praising his son's supposed resilience. He struggles to keep his footing, disoriented by the relentless assault. The man's face twists into a cruel smile, claiming this punishment is a step toward making Rika a better person. From the floor, Karen weakly grabs his father's leg, trying to intervene. The man ignores his younger child, raising a fist to continue his lesson with Rika. With what little strength he has left, Karen pleads for his brother to be spared. The father's expression shifts to annoyance at the unexpected interruption. He callously shakes Karen's hand from his leg, preparing to continue his assault. A look of sheer panic crosses Rika's face as he realizes his sibling is still in danger. Rika lunges forward, desperately trying to restrain his father from behind. He's thrown to the floor, clutching his chest as the impact knocks the wind out of him. Fueled by desperation, Rika lands a defiant blow against his tormentor. The man retaliates with a powerful kick, sending Rika crashing across the room. The man delivers another devastating blow, sending Rika crashing to the floor. Rika lies motionless, the fight seemingly knocked out of him. The relentless assault continues, filling the small apartment with the sounds of the struggle. Their father stands over his son's fallen form, pausing his attack for a moment. The man's expression shifts to confusion as he notices something amiss on the floor. The voice recorder, Rika's only hope, lies exposed on the wooden floorboards. A wave of pure panic washes over Rika as he realizes his plan has been discovered. He desperately reaches for the device, his last chance for escape slipping away. But his father is faster, kneeling down to inspect the small electronic device. His eyes narrow with cold fury as he understands the true nature of Rika's defiance. A look of dawning horror crosses Rika's face as his father's expression turns to cold fury. With a single brutal motion, he crushes the voice recorder, shattering Rika's only escape plan. He looms over his defeated son, his voice dripping with condescending disappointment. Turning his attention to Karen, he grabs the boy's hair and cruelly suggests his actions are hurting their mother. Seeing his sibling threatened snaps Rika out of his despair, his expression hardening with renewed fury. He's pinned to the floor under his father's foot, his weak protest muffled by the pressure. The relentless pressure forces a pained gasp from him, his body trembling on the verge of collapse. The memory of his vow to protect his sibling fuels a desperate surge of resolve. His mind screams at him to move, his fist clenching as he fights against the overwhelming force. The man turns his cruelty on Karen, demanding to inspect his injured eye as Rika watches with rising horror and rage. The brutal confrontation is suddenly interrupted by the sound of the doorbell. Both the father and a battered Rika on the floor pause, turning towards the unexpected sound. The doorbell chimes again, its sound echoing through the tense apartment. From the floor, Rika wonders if a neighbor heard the struggle and came to investigate. A flicker of desperate hope crosses his bruised face, questioning if help has finally arrived. But his father grabs him by the chin, ordering him to ignore the visitor. The man's cold expression shows his irritation at being disturbed during their family matter. Rika grimaces as his father's grip tightens, a silent warning to stay quiet. As the doorbell rings a third time, the man holds his son down, refusing to let the outside world in. The peephole cover clicks open as someone inside decides to see who is at the door. The peephole cover slides aside as the father cautiously checks on the persistent visitor. Both Rika and his father are completely stunned by who they see on the other side. Asura stands in the doorway, offering a cheerful and completely unfitting greeting. The scene abruptly shifts to the school, indicating a flashback to an earlier event. In a school restroom, a girl is being tormented, ordered to stop struggling for a forced haircut. Another student stumbles upon the scene, her face a mask of wide-eyed shock. She discovers two bullies holding down a terrified classmate, one of them brandishing a pair of scissors. The bullies mockingly tell the witness to leave, claiming they're just giving their victim a haircut. The girl insists the victim told them to stop, but the bullies dismiss her and tell her to get lost. One of the tormentors breaks into a cruel, taunting laugh, clearly relishing the power trip. The witness calmly warns the bullies they'll face judgment for their actions, just like their missing friend. She confidently claims she knows someone who will come and deliver that very judgment. The bullies whisper amongst themselves, one mocking the threat while the other nervously admits their friend has been unreachable. The lead bully dismisses the warning, claiming their friend's absence doesn't give the girl the right to interfere. She issues a chilling threat, promising severe consequences if the witness dares to tell anyone. Behind them, the original victim trembles, trapped and terrified by the escalating confrontation. The witness's brave facade cracks, her face showing a flicker of genuine fear. She turns and flees down a narrow alley, seemingly giving in to the bully's intimidation. Her expression suddenly shifts to wide-eyed shock as she stops in her tracks. The alleyway is now completely empty, leaving her sudden disappearance a mystery. The girl frantically searches the alley, realizing the person she was looking for is gone. She resolves to prove that bad deeds have dire consequences, hoping to scare the bully straight. With a new plan in mind, she quickly pulls out her phone and begins to type. She crafts a public message, warning that a mysterious figure will punish the wicked. With a decisive tap, she sends her ominous warning out into the world. She clutches her phone, hoping her post will go viral and create a world of only good people. Looking up at a nearby apartment building, she continues her search for the mysterious boy. As a door slams shut nearby, her thoughts return to the power to send people to their judgment. She wonders aloud where the boy who holds that power could be at this very moment. Her gaze drifts upward, questioning if he's somewhere above, watching over the city. Asura stands at the door, offering a disarmingly innocent smile despite the bandage on his cheek. From the floor, a battered Rika stares up in utter disbelief at his unexpected visitor. He struggles to comprehend the situation, demanding to know why Asura is at his home. A flashback reveals Asura had been watching Rika from afar after their strange encounter at school. Asura explains that Rika's injuries and odd behavior made him concerned enough to follow him. Rika is completely baffled by the idea that Asura would be worried about him. The memory shows Rika leaving the classroom earlier, the moment that sparked Asura's concern. Asura finishes his explanation, admitting he suspected Rika was in some kind of trouble. The father smoothly steps in, thanking Asura for being such a good friend to his son. With a thin smile, the man politely dismisses Asura, asking him to leave them to their family business. From the floor, a desperate Karan pleads with Asura, begging him to leave the dangerous situation. He weakly insists that Asura should go, trying to protect Rika from further trouble. In a sudden flash of movement, the father lunges forward, intent on removing the unwelcome guest. Asura's innocent confusion deepens as he tries to understand the tense and violent scene. The father calmly explains that this is a necessary if unpleasant step in fixing his family. He coldly describes his family as a disobedient son and a foolish wife, referring to the two siblings. His gaze turns chillingly cold as he declares this pain will correct their ways and ensure obedience. But Asura speaks up, defending Rika as a good person who helps others and stands up to bullies. Asura's expression shifts, pointedly questioning the father's definition of misbehaving. A serene, almost chilling smile spreads across Asura's face as he delivers a simple warning: evil will be punished. Asura looks up from the floor, declaring that hurting a good person is a truly bad deed. His gaze intensifies as he tells the man to stop and show kindness to the brothers instead. The father scoffs at the boy's words, questioning his right to judge what is evil. He justifies his cruelty, claiming it's a necessary lesson for his disobedient family. Asura listens to the twisted logic, his serene smile never wavering. The man's anger grows, challenging Asura for daring to label his discipline as evil. He pinches the bridge of his nose, showing his growing impatience with the interruption. Turning his back, he coldly orders Asura to leave, dismissing him as just another kid. But Asura steps forward, ignoring the man's command as Rika watches in disbelief. The father's eye twitches as Asura calmly lifts the ominous key from his neck, preparing to act. From the floor, a battered Rika desperately warns Asura to stay out of it. He insists he's fine, pushing away the offer of help with a strained expression. Rika tells Asura he doesn't have to get involved, trying to protect him from the inevitable fallout. The father watches this exchange, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. Asura turns his back, his mind processing the true nature of the man before him. He foresees a future where the man will continue to hurt both Rika and his sibling. Asura realizes this cruelty won't stop with them, but will extend to any kind person who crosses his path. He understands the man is capable of causing permanent, unforgivable harm. Asura knows that once that line is crossed, it will be far too late for anyone to intervene. His expression hardens as he delivers a chilling verdict. Those who do evil must be erased. From the floor, Rika weakly asks if Asura is all right, his concern misplaced. He warns Asura that using such a dangerous power will eventually have consequences. But Asura's grip on the key remains firm, his decision already made. The father grabs Asura, deciding the boy has overstayed his welcome. He coldly states he'd rather not waste his energy disciplining a stranger's child. A forceful shove sends Asura stumbling to the floor by the entryway. The man gestures dismissively, ordering the boy to leave immediately. He mocks Asura's apparent weakness, questioning how he could fall from such a small push. The father's patience finally snaps, his expression hardening with annoyance. But Asura looks up with a chilling smile, declaring his next action a truly good deed. Rika tries to reassure Asura, insisting he'll be fine despite his injuries. Asura lifts the key with a calm smile, while Rika watches in stunned disbelief. Without warning, Asura presses the key firmly against the father's forehead. Rika's face contorts in pure shock, unable to process the sudden turn of events. The father's eye widens in disbelief, caught completely off guard by the boy's action. Asura's grip remains steady, holding the ominous key in place with chilling resolve. The man violently shoves Asura, sending him stumbling across the entryway. Rika can only watch, his face a mask of horrified confusion. Asura crashes against the front door, the impact echoing through the apartment. The father stares at his hand, utterly bewildered by what just transpired. The man stares at the key now inexplicably attached to his forehead, demanding an explanation. A close-up reveals the key is somehow embedded, but the expected gate to hell is nowhere to be seen. Rika's mind reels, questioning why the gate hasn't opened to take his father away. Asura looks on from the floor, his own plan having failed in a completely unexpected way. A terrifying thought hits Rika. His father now has the key, and they are completely at his mercy. The father examines his reflection, utterly baffled by the strange object now part of his face. He grabs the string and gives it a sharp tug, trying to dislodge the mysterious key. With a furious grunt, he pulls with all his strength, but the key refuses to move an inch. He stumbles back, still yanking on the string, completely unable to free himself from the object. Rika watches the bizarre struggle, wondering why the key won't come out, while Asura sits defeated. The man clutches his shirt, his frustration mounting over the unremovable key. Asura slumps against the wall, utterly defeated by the unexpected outcome. The father's gaze narrows with pure fury, his patience completely gone. His frustration peaks as he demands to know what this strange object is. He turns his fury on Asura, stomping forward to demand answers for this humiliation. Asura's eyes widen as he instinctively raises a hand to shield himself from the incoming strike. The force of the blow sends Asura skidding across the wooden floor. He collapses onto the ground, completely still after the brutal confrontation. The father stands over him, his bare foot planted firmly as he demands the boy to speak. He slams his hand down, his patience worn thin as he demands an answer one last time. The man looms over Asura's motionless form, demanding to know what he's done. He unleashes his fury on the unconscious boy, desperate for answers. His face darkens with rage, his patience completely exhausted by the silence. But Rika throws himself in the way, blocking the next blow with his own arm. He screams that Asura is already unconscious, pointing to the boy's still bleeding form. Unfazed, the father grabs Rika, intent on continuing his brutal lesson. Rika glares back, his eyes burning with defiance despite the pain. With a surge of adrenaline, he tackles his father, trying to push him away from Asura. The man effortlessly shoves him aside, sending Rika crashing hard against the wall. As the father stands over his defeated son, Asura slowly staggers back to his feet. Rika stares in disbelief as Asura, despite his injuries, rises to his feet. Asura's eye glints with cold resolve as he reveals a new ring-shaped object. He presses the mysterious ring to the father's forehead, taking complete control of the situation. The father is frozen in shock, pinned down by the boy's sudden, confident move. Asura calmly reassures Rika, promising that the nightmare is about to end. His expression hardens as he declares that if the heavens won't act, he will deliver judgment himself. With a decisive click, the strange ring activates, sealing the man's fate. A colossal gate of bone erupts from the floor, summoned to claim its next victim. The skeletal doors slowly swing open, revealing an endless abyss as the father stares in horror. Rika watches, completely stunned by the terrifying power now on full display. The man stumbles backward, an unseen force pulling him towards the terrifying gate. He stares into the portal, bewildered to see his own reflection staring back from the abyss. His reflection's face darkens, a soulless version of himself questioning its own identity. His eyes widen in terror as he's irresistibly drawn closer to the horrifying maw. A perfect copy of himself emerges from the gate, its arms outstretched in a sinister welcome. The doppelganger's body grotesquely mutates, twisting into a monstrous form before his very eyes. The horrifying creature, his own twisted reflection, seizes him with a massive, crushing hand. He lets out a silent scream of agony as the immense pressure causes a severe injury. The monster's grip tightens with bone-shattering force, ending his struggle permanently. A memory flashes, revealing the man wishing for an obedient child as a young Rika lies defeated on the floor. A flashback reveals a peaceful, newborn Rika sleeping in his crib. The memory continues, showing the father's desire for a son who always obeys his every command. He proudly declares his intention to raise his son to be a righteous man, just like him. The vision shows him training a young Rika, completely ignoring his other child on the floor. His twisted logic concludes that true love isn't comfort but harsh discipline. He believes this cruelty is the only path to becoming the happiest family in the world. As his delusion peaks, the monster delivers a final crushing blow, ending his twisted fantasy. The creature drags its screaming victim into the endless dark abyss of the gate. In his final moments, dark tears stream down his face as he's pulled into oblivion. His last sight is of Rika watching from the doorway as his hand reaches out in a final, futile gesture. Rika looks on in disbelief, his mind refusing to accept the horrifying scene. His father's hand desperately reaches out, grasping at the empty air for a son he can no longer reach. Rika stays frozen on the floor, a silent witness to the grim judgment. Dark tears stream down the man's face as he is consumed by the abyss. The monstrous creature continues its pull, dragging him deeper into the skeletal maw. He is swallowed by the darkness, his form disappearing into the void. With a terrifying finality, the bone gates close, sealing his fate forever. The apartment falls silent as the sound of the closing gate echoes, marking the end of his reign. The scene shifts to a quaint street, where a young girl is captivated by a charming little cafe. Her attention is fixed on the elegant sign of Café Oshiare, a stark contrast to the previous chaos. A stylish woman enjoys a quiet moment reading outside the cafe. The young girl watches another student reading, her face filled with admiration. The cafe's sign announces its grand opening, looking inviting and trendy. Her excitement quickly turns to panicked realization. She counts the few coins in her hand, the clinking sound sealing her disappointment. With her shoulders slumped, she trudges home, unable to afford the treat. Arriving home, she's surprised to find 2 noodle cups and a few notes on the table. A thoughtful note from her mother reveals a surprise treat waiting for her. Her face lights up with pure, unadulterated joy at the kind gesture. She immediately dashes to the freezer, eager to find her favorite ice cream. She leaps for joy, clutching the box of ice cream her mother left for her. A closer look reveals the treat is a box of delicious, chocolate-coated ice cream. Her excitement suddenly shifts to a look of thoughtful realization. A brilliant idea strikes her as she recalls the trendy cafe she saw earlier. She sets out a mug and a box of instant coffee, preparing her own special drink. With a clever smile, she unwraps a small, individually packaged chocolate. She drops the chocolate into the hot coffee, creating her own version of a mocha. Clutching the warm mug, she beams, overjoyed with her clever concoction. She takes a large, satisfying sip, savoring her homemade cafe-style treat. Now content, she sits at her desk, enjoying her drink while peacefully reading a book. She imagines herself at the trendy cafe, lost in her book in a moment of perfect happiness. A thank you note for the ice cream sits on the table, her face beaming with gratitude. A scorched wing-like pattern is burned into the floorboards, the only trace of the gate's terrifying visit. A battered Rika struggles to process the event, questioning if his father was truly sent to hell. Still on his knees, he realizes the horrifying creature has vanished, taking his tormentor with it. He slumps against the wall, the full weight of the event hitting him as he wonders if his father is gone for good. A deep, shuddering breath escapes him, the tension finally leaving his battered body. His gaze falls on his sibling, and he wonders if they can finally live in peace now. The shock gives way to a weak, almost hysterical laugh as the reality of his freedom sinks in. Asura smiles, convinced he's done a good deed, while Rika concludes the world is better off without a man like that. Rika recalls the terrifying moment Asura stepped in, his mind fixated on that one decisive act. Asura, bruised and exhausted, tries to convince himself that what he did was a good deed, but doubt creeps in as he slumps against the wall, seeking silent confirmation that he was right. Rika, however, is consumed by a horrifying thought. If he sent his father to hell, does that make him a killer? He stares at his hand, questioning if taking a life, any life, could ever be considered a good deed. The moral weight of the situation crashes down on him, leaving him speechless and shaken. He clutches his head in despair, admitting to himself that he has no answers. Yet through his tears, he confesses that with his father gone, a massive weight has been lifted from his shoulders. Asura watches, completely baffled by Rika's conflicting emotions and sudden breakdown. Rika spirals, hating that he couldn't solve his own problems and now feels only relief after what he perceives as a murder. He berates himself for his tears, feeling pathetic for his emotional collapse. Asura listens quietly, his own bruised face showing a look of deep thought. He kneels beside Rika, his voice filled with genuine concern for the other boy's well-being. Asura pauses, a new theory forming in his mind about the source of Rika's pain. He leans in, asking if there is someone else tormenting him, completely misreading the situation. Rika looks up, utterly baffled by the wildly inaccurate but sincere question. With a kind smile, Asura offers his help again, promising to intervene if that's the case. He earnestly declares that good people like Rika deserve to live life with a smile. Rika is left completely speechless, disarmed by Asura's pure and simple worldview. Overwhelmed by the kindness, he turns away, wiping a tear from his eye. Rika apologizes for dragging Asura into the mess, reassuring him that no one else is bothering him. Asura lets out a sigh of relief, glad to hear that Rika is finally free from his tormentors. Peeking through his fingers, Rika offers a quiet but sincere word of thanks. Asura falls silent, his expression unreadable as he takes in the gratitude. Rika admits his thoughts are a jumbled mess, unable to sort out how he feels about everything. Asura decides it's time to leave, explaining that his grandmother will worry if he's late. As he turns to go, Rika's concern shifts to Asura's injuries, offering to get a first aid kit. Asura suddenly gets to his feet, his movement startling the still-seated Rika. He reassures Rika that he's okay and can walk just fine on his own. Rika stares in disbelief, questioning how Asura can be all right after the brutal encounter. Asura casually dismisses his injuries, leaving Rika to wonder just how tough the other boy really is. With the ordeal seemingly over, Asura announces it's time for him to head home. Rika calls out his name, causing Asura to pause at the doorway and look back. Still on the floor, a battered Rika offers a quiet farewell, his head in his hands. Asura replies with a simple, reassuring smile, his own face still showing signs of the fight. He gives one last look over his shoulder before opening the door to leave. Asura finally steps out into the hallway, leaving Rika alone with his thoughts. The scene shifts to a memory of Rika pushing his body to its absolute limit on a park bench. His face contorts in agony, revealing the intense physical training he put himself through. The flashback ends with him collapsing onto the ground, completely exhausted from his self-inflicted ordeal. The memory continues, his hand digging into the ground as he pushes past his physical breaking point. In a symbolic vision, a monstrous being casts him into a deep chasm, representing his failure. He reaches out in a desperate, silent plea as he plummets into the dark abyss. His hand scrapes against the cliffside, a final, futile attempt to halt his descent. His eye widens in sheer terror, reflecting the horrifying fall. From above, ghostly apparitions of his family look down, their voices echoing his name in disappointment. A tear escapes his eye, a single drop of despair in the face of his overwhelming failure. The vision shows him hitting the bottom with a crushing finality, consumed by the darkness. A demonic face looms over him, ordering him to start the entire painful process over again. Rika gasps, snapping back to the present, the horrifying memory leaving him breathless and shaken. In a desolate realm, Rika's father sits up, utterly bewildered by his new surroundings. A wave of unbearable agony washes over him as his punishment begins. His body is consumed by an unseen force, his screams echoing through the void. As his form disintegrates, he desperately calls out his son's name for help that will never come. A mysterious figure in a fedora observes the scene, noting the man has 1,000,000,000 years of this torment ahead of him. The shadowy warden promises that eventually, his tears of sorrow will run dry. The scene shifts back to the real world as a doorbell chimes at a quiet, suburban home. Asura, now back at his own house, calmly holds the string of his key, his face still showing the marks of the fight. He slides open his door to greet the unexpected visitors. 2 police officers stand at his doorstep, flashing their badges and asking about a missing person case. The officer politely asks for a moment of Asura's time, unaware of the boy's recent ordeal. The scene transitions following the ethereal flight of a single shimmering butterfly. A young girl walking with her mother is completely captivated by the fluttering insect. She joyfully waves goodbye as the butterfly continues on its path down the street. Her little shoes patter on the pavement as she excitedly gives chase. Her eyes remain fixed on her new friend, her expression one of pure, innocent wonder. She reaches out a hand, trying to get closer as it soars higher into the sky. Suddenly, she finds herself standing alone on an empty street, the butterfly nowhere in sight. The realization hits her, and her eyes well up with tears as she understands she's lost. Overwhelmed with fear, she begins to cry, desperately wanting her mother. A kind-faced boy offers a piece of candy to the distraught little girl. He takes her by the hand and they walk together, her tears replaced by a smile. Their journey ends at the local police station, a safe haven for the lost child. The girl is tearfully reunited with her relieved mother, who rushes to embrace her. The boy waves a friendly goodbye as the mother expresses her flustered gratitude. He turns and walks away, offering one last wave down the quiet street. Peeking from behind her mother, the little girl shyly waves back at her rescuer. The scene changes to another young girl, walking home from school with a cheerful stride. She stops abruptly, her eyes widening in surprise at something she spotted on the ground. A forgotten wallet lies on the pavement right outside the police station. The girl returns the wallet to its owner, who offers her a pack of donuts as a reward. The man humbly refuses the treat, insisting that returning the wallet was simply the right thing to do. Leaving the station, the man pauses, his expression thoughtful as he continues on his way. Elsewhere, a young man scrambles in a panic after accidentally spilling a crate of apples. The same kind man from the police station kneels down to help the flustered stranger gather the fruit. As a thank you, the young man gives him a box of apples, which the older man accepts with a cheerful thumbs up. The scene shifts to a supermarket, where a store manager looks up in surprise. He continues his work, stocking prepackaged meals onto the shelves for the evening rush. The shot reveals the brightly lit sign of the Super Izuko grocery store at night. Inside, the manager watches as a young boy, who looks just like Asura, quietly browses the discounted meals. He counts the meager coins in his hand, realizing he can't afford much. His stomach rumbles, a clear and audible sign of his hunger. He wistfully eyes the rice balls, calculating if he has enough for a meal. The store manager notices the young boy's quiet dilemma from across the aisle. Instead of shooing him away, the manager approaches with a thoughtful expression. In a simple act of kindness, he places a half-price sticker on the food. The boy watches in wide-eyed surprise, not expecting the sudden gesture. The manager offers a warm smile and a reassuring thumbs up. The boy's face breaks into a look of pure, unadulterated joy. He walks home contentedly, his discounted meal in hand, humming a happy tune. The officer explains they're investigating a missing persons case and asks for a moment of his time. Asura's eyes widen, surprised to find the police standing at his door. The detective smiles kindly, asking if he can speak with a parent or guardian. Asura explains his grandmother is unwell, but offers to answer their questions himself. The officer accepts his offer, reaching into his coat to retrieve something. He presents photos of 2 familiar faces, asking if Asura recognizes the boys. Asura immediately recognizes them, confirming they are indeed his classmates. The detective reveals the boys are the missing persons and asks if Asura noticed anything strange. Asura processes the specific time frame as the officer presses for any and all details. He puts a hand to his chin, pretending to think hard about the question. Asura calmly recounts a series of cruel acts, explaining how the missing boys used him for their twisted games. The 2 detectives listen in stunned silence, their faces reflecting their shock at the brutal details. The older officer turns to his partner, struggling to comprehend the cruelty of a so-called pitching game. Asura elaborates, describing how they taped targets to him and threw baseballs at him for points. The officer's expressions shift from shock to a grim understanding of the situation. The lead detective apologizes for dredging up painful memories, noting it explains Asura's injuries. He then presses for any information on the boys' whereabouts or what happened after the bullying. With unnerving certainty, Asura looks them in the eye and declares that both boys went to hell. The veteran detective is completely taken aback, his face a picture of pure bewilderment. He asks for clarification, and Asura confirms he means the literal place of eternal punishment. The detective bursts into laughter, clearly not taking the boy's statement seriously. He dismisses the wild claim as a good joke, amused by the kid's imagination. But his smile fades as he meets Asura's unwavering, dead-serious gaze. He tries to rationalize, asking if Asura simply saw them taken to a place that looked like hell. The officer scratches his head, trying to make sense of the strange testimony. Asura calmly clarifies that a gate to hell appeared, and a demon dragged them through. The detective attempts to interpret this as a metaphor, but Asura insists it was a real horned demon. The officer pauses, considering the boy's bizarre but consistent story. He leans in, his tone shifting as he asks if this gate simply appeared out of thin air. Asura calmly denies this, the key around his neck hinting at his own involvement. Asura touches the key, about to reveal his role in summoning the gate. But the younger detective steps in, telling her partner that his intense questioning is enough. She passionately argues that Asura is a victim, and his wild story is just a way to cope with the trauma. She pleads with her partner, insisting that it's painful to watch and that Asura has helped enough. The veteran detective apologizes for his persistence as his partner gives Asura a reassuring pat on the head. The younger officer gives her partner a pained look, making a sharp comment about his harsh methods. The older detective sighs and scratches his head, clearly perplexed by the entire situation. He decides to end the interview, thanking Asura for his time and handing him a business card. The officer tells Asura to call him if he remembers anything or simply needs help in the future. He offers a final, reassuring smile, his expression showing genuine concern for the boy's well-being. Asura smiles, confirming he's received the detective's business card. The officers bow deeply, thanking Asura for his cooperation before preparing to leave. As they walk away, the younger detective glances back with a look of lingering concern. But the veteran officer freezes mid-step, a sudden thought striking him. He turns back, having noticed something unusual in the yard as Asura watches in surprise. The camera pans to a large, ominous doghouse with the name Padre on it. The detective asks for permission to look around the backyard, and Asura calmly agrees. With a grateful smile, the officer thanks the boy for his help. His partner watches in confusion as he walks toward the strange structure in the yard. The veteran detective's expression is unreadable, his mind clearly working through a new theory. The younger officer questions her partner, who admits he found something strange about the house. He explains he saw a bag of dog food inside, a detail his partner had completely missed. The veteran detective notes the suspicious silence, pointing out that no dog barked during their entire visit. Kneeling by the doghouse, he considers the oddity of a dog not reacting to strangers at the door. He discovers a piece of a nylon leash complete with fur, confirming his hunch. His eyes widen as he examines the evidence, the grim reality of the situation dawning on him. A knowing look crosses his face, his sharp instincts proving to be correct. He ventures into the overgrown woods behind the house, his investigation taking a sudden turn. His partner calls out in alarm as he unexpectedly climbs over the back fence. The camera reveals what he's found, a freshly disturbed mound of earth marked by the doghouse's sign. The detective pays his respects at the makeshift grave, while his partner concludes the dog must have passed away. He speculates on the cause of death, wondering if it was old age or something far more sinister. The veteran officer suggests the bullies might have targeted the dog, leaving his partner shocked by the theory. Convinced this spot holds a clue, he declares it's time to start searching for evidence related to the missing boys. But his partner suddenly questions the entire mission, her expression turning grim. She argues that finding the bullies will only allow them to resume their torment of Asura. The younger officer passionately lists their crimes, from assault to the potential harm of an animal. Her partner calmly reminds her that as minors, their punishment would be light and their jurisdiction is limited. His detached logic only fuels her frustration, causing her to raise her voice in protest. She tearfully admits she has no motivation to find people who commit such cruel acts. The veteran detective scratches his head, explaining that finding the boys is the first step toward justice. He turns to his partner with a knowing, reassuring look. He calmly suggests they focus on their immediate task, locating the missing persons. His partner reluctantly agrees, her eyes still filled with tears of frustration. But before they begin, she stops him with a serious question. She asks if he's truly okay with letting criminals like them go unpunished. While taking photos of the scene, he admits that while he doesn't like it, he must accept it if that's the outcome. The younger officer listens silently, her profile showing deep contemplation. Her composure finally breaks as she questions how he can remain so detached. She wonders aloud if she'll ever be as level-headed as him, fidgeting with a small, intricate tool. The veteran detective offers a piece of cryptic advice, suggesting she's better off not following in his footsteps. He calls out to his partner, Tota, who turns to acknowledge him as they walk through the woods. The detective suddenly freezes, his attention caught by something unusual amongst the undergrowth. His partner turns back, her expression questioning what could have possibly stopped him. He points to a strange, wing-shaped scorch mark on the forest floor, asking for her opinion. The two officers debate the nature of the mark, one seeing flames while the other sees a floral pattern. The detective thoughtfully documents the strange marking with his phone's camera. The scene transitions, focusing on a simple light fixture on a ceiling. Back in his home, Asura kneels in prayer before a family shrine, a small mark visible on his hand. As he prays, the mark on his hand begins to spread, leaving him to wonder about its ominous meaning. A close-up reveals the mark has morphed into a glowing flame-like tattoo on his wrist. His grandmother enters the room, her kind face filled with concern for the boy. Asura explains that a strange bruise on his arm appears to be growing larger. He holds out his arm for her to inspect, a cheerful but strained look on his face. But as she leans in for a closer look, she finds his skin is completely clear. Asura looks up in surprise, realizing the ominous mark is only visible to him. The scene shifts to the exterior of Rika's apartment building the next day. Rika jolts awake with a gasp, the terror of the previous day still fresh in his mind. He looks around, disoriented, trying to separate the nightmare from reality. His gaze falls on his sibling sleeping peacefully, confirming the nightmare was all too real. The reality hits Rika as he remembers his father is truly gone. His eyes drift to the clock, realizing with a jolt that he's overslept. He leaps out of bed in a panic, scrambling to get ready for school. After a moment of dazed confusion, his expression hardens with a newfound resolve. He pauses by the scorched mark on the floor, a permanent reminder of the gate. Rika recalls trying to scrub the stain away, concluding it's linked to Asura's mysterious key. Arriving at school, he and Asura lock eyes, both still bearing the marks of their ordeal. Rika marvels at how Asura seems completely unfazed by the previous day's chaos. Asura offers a cheerful morning greeting as Rika enters the classroom. Rika laments that he's already tardy, a rough start to his new school life. Rika explains he slept through the night, admitting to Asura that he must have been exhausted from the previous day's events. His expression darkens as he confesses he doesn't feel worthy of such a peaceful rest. He runs a hand through his hair, revealing it was the best sleep he's had in his life, maybe even the first time ever. Asura's simple, kind smile catches Rika completely off guard. Rika checks on Asura, who reassures him that he's doing just fine. Rika hesitates before speaking, his face a mix of concern and determination as he prepares to offer some advice. He flashes back to the terrifying monster, realizing the power Asura wields is not from their world. With a serious look, he tells Asura he should reconsider using that mysterious key. He admits he has no right to judge, but feels compelled to warn him about the potential consequences. Rika looks Asura in the eye, predicting that if he continues, something terrible will eventually happen to him. Asura smiles, explaining his belief that good deeds always find a way to reward the doer. Rika stares back, completely bewildered by this simplistic worldview. Asura continues, stating that Rika's peaceful sleep is proof that his actions were righteous and reciprocated. Rika can't believe his ears, questioning how sending someone to hell could be considered a good deed. Holding his key, Asura explains that removing evil people makes the world better for the good ones. He declares with a chilling smile that he will continue performing these good deeds, much to Rika's alarm. Just as a teacher calls Rika over, Asura waves and dashes off, claiming he has somewhere important to be. Rika watches him go, a mix of concern and confusion on his face as he processes the boy's strange logic. He glances back down the empty hallway, wondering what kind of good deed Asura is rushing off to perform. His thoughts are interrupted as a small, ornate purse materializes in the air just above his hand. Elsewhere, a young delinquent tosses a stolen purse, complaining that his recent heists haven't been profitable. He walks down a narrow alley, a sudden idea crossing his mind. He recalls his leader, Teria, promising to find them a new job soon. Meanwhile, another gang member checks his phone, annoyed that his leader, Teria, isn't responding. He walks through an alley, wondering about the whereabouts of another missing member, Kino. Frustrated and low on funds, he suggests they find some new targets to rob. His train of thought is broken as he looks up, startled by something ahead. He spots a lone figure emerging from a mysterious cloud of smoke down the alley. A close-up reveals Asura's calm, smiling face, completely unfazed by the commotion. The delinquent calls down from a ledge, demanding to know who Asura is, while Asura offers a polite bow. The delinquent looks down at Asura, demanding to know what his deal is. Asura calmly asks if he remembers their previous chat about not stealing or hurting people. The delinquent suddenly recognizes Asura as the kid who was last seen with the missing Tatsumiya. He stares back, completely baffled by Asura's strange and direct question. His spiky-haired friend steps forward, aggressively asking if Asura is trying to pick a fight. The spiky-haired delinquent suddenly turns, looking around the alley for someone else. He demands to know where the brown-haired brat is, but his friend confirms it's just Asura. A jolt of fear runs through the first delinquent as he realizes they're alone with the strange boy. The spiky-haired one sighs in relief, glad that Asura appears to be by himself. He grabs Asura by the collar, trying to intimidate him, but Asura's smile never wavers. The delinquent threatens to make Asura's life a living hell once his leader Teria returns. He lashes out in anger, infuriated by Asura's complete lack of fear. Asura calmly suggests that he try doing good deeds instead, his unnerving smile never fading. The scene shifts to Rika, who lets out a sigh of relief in the school hallway. He reflects on his conversation with Asura, hoping his lies about his injuries were convincing. On the stairs, Rika spots Asura in the hallway below and calls out his name. Rika is shocked to see fresh marks on Asura's face, wondering if he was just in another fight. He remembers Asura rushing off to do a good deed and begins to connect the dots. Rika follows the path Asura took, heading toward the alley behind the school. He arrives to find the alley empty, except for several ominous, flame-shaped scorch marks burned into the ground. Rika stares in disbelief, realizing Asura has been dispensing his own brand of justice again. He pulls out his phone, documenting the strange, flame-like evidence left behind. Elsewhere, the two detectives examine an identical scorch mark at another location. The veteran officer strokes his chin, pondering the connection between these mysterious symbols. While his partner finds the recurring marks suspicious, he admits it's not enough to form a solid theory. The scene changes to a schoolgirl standing before a large set of doors, as if about to enter another world. She walks through her school, her expression serious as she heads toward the restroom. Her eyes widen as she hears the faint sound of someone crying from inside. Startled, she turns her head, trying to pinpoint the source of the distressed sounds. She cautiously enters the restroom, following the soft sobs coming from one of the stalls. She finds a classmate huddled in a stall, sobbing amidst a pile of ruined school supplies. The girl cries over her destroyed belongings, her face a mask of pure anguish. The student recognizes her classmate Tanaka and calls out her name in concern. Tanaka looks up, her tear-filled eyes wide with surprise at being discovered. Panicked, the girl decides to run for a teacher, but is suddenly stopped in her tracks. Tanaka grabs her hand, desperately preventing her from leaving the restroom. Through her tears, Tanaka explains that involving a teacher will only make the bullying worse. The girl is left speechless, her expression shifting to one of horrified understanding. The scene shifts to an alleyway where the girl seems to be searching for someone. She catches her breath, realizing with a jolt that the person she's looking for is gone. A wild idea strikes her. If Asura sends those bullies to hell, Tanaka will finally be free. She frantically runs through the city streets, desperate to find the boy with the mysterious key. Her panic grows as she realizes she has no idea where to even begin looking for him. Back in her room, she grips the handles of her closet, hoping for a miracle. She throws open the doors, searching for a hidden path to another world. Peeking through the clothes, her expression turns to disappointment as she finds nothing unusual. Her search becomes more desperate as she whispers into the empty space, asking where he is. She stands defeated, questioning where the path to her unlikely hero could possibly be. Her eyes scan over a pile of old books, finding no magical portal, only clutter. The scene returns to the school where she watches helplessly as the bullies drag a terrified Tanaka down the hall. The girl watches in horror, realizing her classmate Tanaka is being tormented by bullies yet again. She remembers Tanaka's warning that telling anyone would only make things worse, leaving her paralyzed with indecision. Her thoughts fixate on Asura, the only person she knows who can make people disappear without a trace. She feels utterly powerless, knowing she lacks the strength to stop them as a terrifying vision flashes in her mind. With a determined expression, she decides that Asura is the only one who can help. The bullies continue to corner their terrified victim, impatient with her hesitation. Overcome with guilt, the girl turns to walk away, silently apologizing for her own weakness. But in a sudden burst of courage, she turns back and places a hand on a bully's shoulder, telling them to stop. The two bullies turn around, their smug expressions twisting into annoyance at the interruption. With fear in her eyes, she stands her ground, pleading with them to stop their cruel game. The lead bully grabs the girl's wrist, squeezing hard as a silent threat. Ignoring the danger, the girl pulls Tanaka along, making a desperate escape down the hall. The bully's angry shouts follow them, promising that she will regret her interference. After running for some time, the two girls finally stop on a quiet street to catch their breath. The emotional toll of the escape proves too much, and Tanaka suddenly slumps to the ground. Her friend tries to comfort her, insisting that she's safe and everything will be all right. But Tanaka is consumed by fear, certain that the bullies will now retaliate even more harshly. The brave girl leans in with a determined look, revealing she has a plan to find someone who can help. Tanaka looks up, her tear-filled eyes filled with confusion and disbelief at the strange proposal. She explains her despair, revealing that even the teachers had blamed her, leaving her with no one to turn to. The girl insists that if they find this mysterious boy, he will make sure Tanaka is safe and sound. Tanaka looks horrified, questioning what it means for the bullies to simply disappear. With a wide, confident smile, her friend reassures her that he will make all the bad people vanish. She explains that he sends evil people to hell, ensuring they can never hurt anyone again. Overwhelmed by the terrifying suggestion, Tanaka staggers back as her friend rushes to catch her. The girl offers to walk her home, but a shaken Tanaka weakly insists that she's fine. Tanaka reluctantly agrees, and her friend looks relieved to be able to help. The girl reflects on her own past experiences, understanding the depth of Tanaka's terror. As they walk, she wonders if Asura is destined to create a world inhabited only by good people. She tries one last time to comfort Tanaka, who can only offer a nervous agreement. Her expression hardens with resolve, deciding she must do her part to help create that better world. She offers Tanaka a shaky but determined smile, promising that everything will be okay. Their walk ends as they arrive at Tanaka's house, a quiet suburban home. Tanaka offers a quiet word of thanks, grateful for her friend's unexpected kindness. She admits it's been a long time since anyone has shown her genuine concern. As her friend departs, Tanaka reflects on their strange but meaningful conversation. Tanaka enters her home, but freezes in horror at the sight of an unconscious figure on the floor. A closer look reveals the person has their hands bound, a dark stain spreading on the floorboards. Outside, her friend turns back just as Tanaka realizes the gravity of the situation. Tanaka's face contorts in terror as she screams for her grandmother, realizing who the victim is. A wooden tag, inscribed with the motto, "One good deed a day," clinks against a pocket. A news report details a recent robbery where an elderly woman was found bound and injured. Tanaka's friend processes the grim news that the incident is now being treated as a homicide. A chilling image flashes, depicting the helpless victim left on the floor after the attack. The scene cuts to Asura, a faint smile on his bandaged face as a memory comes to mind.